Chapter 314. Si Lu was at a loss. Fang Zhao could even teach Zero. As a consultant team member, he would surely be more familiar with the Yenzhou chapter. His understanding of the role might be deeper than the other actors, but he had to listen to people from the financial department. Si Lu had a habit of going to the gym to vent when he was vexed. Every building in the dormitory district had a gym, but there were many people there. There was also a gym, and Si Lu liked to go there. Actually, there was also a place for the lead and important supporting roles of each chapter. The conditions there were better, and there was more personal space. But he couldn't go in. He didn't have the qualifications. Although the cast and crew were on holiday today, there were still many people in the gym. Some people chose to go to the gourmet food court to relieve their stress, while others chose the gym to vent the pin-up negative emotions from the season they had just filmed. Si Lu was also a regular here. When he entered, he saw familiar faces from the different continents. If he didn't greet anyone, no one would pay attention to him. Although everyone was training, they were all immersed in their own thoughts. If you greeted them, they might not be happy and feel like you were disturbing them. Therefore, people who came here would not rashly speak to others unless they were friends. At the start, it hadn't been like this, but after filming season after season, it had formed this strange atmosphere. Sometimes, what you thought was polite behavior, from the point of view of others, would be like greeting your whole family. Therefore, even if you entered the gym now and saw a senior in the showbiz circle, not greeting them would not be considered disrespectful. As Si Lu trained, he continued to wonder if he should look for Fang Zhao. At this time, Fang Zhao, who had just returned from the gourmet food court, walked into the gym. Although he had run the whole way, he hadn't broken a sweat. Fang Zhao played an important role in the series, so he could also go to the special gym. However, he had temporarily lent his training slot to an actor from the same company. That actor needed a certain amount of training and needed a quiet training environment. There were too many people in the other gyms, so that special gym for the lead and important supporting roles was a little better. Fang Zhao didn't have any requests, so he temporarily lent the access card to that actor. The people at the gym had seen Fang Zhao often recently and knew that Fang Zhao had lent his slot to someone else. They were very envious of that actor. If possible, they would naturally want a quieter and more private training environment. It was a pity that there were too many actors here, and the resources were limited. Who asked them to not be the main leads? Si Lu also saw Fang Zhao and paused his training. He was hesitating whether he should go over or not, but before he could make up his mind, Fang Zhao entered the training room on the other side. Fang Zhao entered the area where the sandbags were kept. There were also a few actors training inside. There were more people using the vertical sandbags. Fang Zhao walked directly to the hanging sandbags, the area where the biggest sandbags were kept. The people inside were not surprised. Some people had tried to hit the sandbag and hurt their fists. Thus, that sandbag was basically only used by Fang Zhao. Even when there were many people in the fitness center, the sandbag was empty. Actors from various continents who trained here had the most direct impression of Fang Zhao's martial prowess. He could fight. If hitting such a big and hard sandbag wasn't considered good at it, then what was? Watching Fang Zhao start torturing the punching bag again, some people at the side started discussing in low voices. Look, Fang Zhao is hitting that sandbag again. That sandbag is so pitiful, getting beaten up every few days. You're wrong. That's not the sandbag from last time. The stadium has changed to a new one. It's said that the previous one has been destroyed. No, it seems like they change it every time. How impressive. Do you want to go and practice with Fang Zhao? People from our continent don't have much interaction with Fang Zhao. Why don't you go and give it a try? The person being questioned looked at the newly changed sandbag, then looked at Fang Zhao, shook his head vigorously, and said to his companion, "Not going. What if he can't control his strength and cripples me? My small body can't even take a punch from him. If he can fight so well, why is he an actor? He can go to Majo's arena to fight. Fighting well there is more money than being an actor." Another person at the side interrupted, "Let me remind you that Fang Zhao's profession is actually a composer. He even held his first professional concert last year. He graduated from Qi, an academy of music, Yenzhou's #1 school for the arts." The other two people were silent for a while before saying, "Then the question is, why does he want to be an actor? Is it fun to fight for jobs with us? Fang Zhao didn't know that other people were discussing him. It wasn't that he couldn't hear them, but every time he came over, he didn't pay attention to other people's conversations. Otherwise, as long as he wanted to, even if the sound of sandbags being hit was rather noisy, he could still hear it. Ever since he had joined the cast of Founding Era, other actors had had negative emotions. Although Fang Zhao himself was more clear-headed than them, he wasn't completely unaffected. He would also recall past events and couldn't remain completely calm. Actually, Fang Zhao would rather use shooting to vent his emotions, but there wasn't a shooting range here that met his requirements. Most of the guns provided by the cast and crew weren't real guns. The props were all imitations of those from the period of destruction. After they were manufactured, not many bullets would be produced for safety reasons. Therefore, Fang Zhao would come here every few days to hit a dozen sandbags. The biggest sandbag here was actually specially made according to Fang Zhao's own requirements. He could hit it, but if someone else hit it, the sandbag would be fine, but the fist would be crippled. The cost of breaking the sandbag was also paid by Fang Zhao himself. He didn't ask the cast and crew to foot the bill. After hitting the sandbag, when Fang Zhao came out, someone called out to him. Fang Zhao. Silu had finally made a decision. He had been staring at the sandbag. When he saw Fang Zhao, he got excited and his voice was a little louder. Everyone else in the venue looked over. Realizing that he had disturbed the others, Silu made an apologetic gesture to his surroundings before taking a deep breath. He walked over to Fang Zhao and opened his mouth. There were so many people around, and there were quite a few familiar faces from Yinzhou. He was too embarrassed to ask. The words that he had wanted to say circled around in his head twice before the words that came out were, "Spar? Everyone else? What a fierce warrior." Especially the people behind Fang Zhao who had finished hitting the sandbag. When they heard Silu's words, they gave Silu a big thumbs up. His courage was commendable, but it wasn't wise. That broken sandbag inside had become a corpse lying on the ground. Even people who didn't know the tragic fate of that big sandbag had heard of Fang Zhao's capabilities. For 4 consecutive seasons, Fang Zhao was the only one that didn't use a stunt double. Even the martial arts instructor and the people invited by the military had said that if Fang Zhao went to the military, he wouldn't be much different from the elite soldiers in the special forces. Spar with Fang Zhao? Why couldn't I think it through? Too much pressure? After Silu finished speaking, he reacted and wished he could give himself a slap. What is this? Looking for a beating? It must have been too much pressure recently, and my brain wasn't working too well. The regretful Silu prayed in his heart that Fang Zhao would definitely reject. Then he heard Fang Zhao say, "Okay, over there?" Fang Zhao pointed to a location not too far away. Usually, some actors would go there to better coordinate during fighting scenes. Fang Zhao had just seen the people inside come out, so it was currently empty. Silu braced himself and said, "Okay." Half an hour later, Fang Zhao and Silu came out one after another. Fang Zhao grabbed his jacket and backpack and left, returning to his dormitory. He looked completely fine, just like when he had arrived. As for Silu, he had a dejected look on his face. He grimaced when he moved his arm. Just looking at it hurt. An actor came over and asked, "Were you beaten?" Silu shook his head. No. The others didn't believe him, but they didn't pursue the matter. Instead, they said, "You weren't hit in the face, didn't suffer any serious injuries, and it doesn't affect your acting." Silu saw the sympathetic looks on the others' faces and couldn't be bothered to explain. Right now, he was vexed. He had said he wanted to train, but Fang Zhao had actually let him have his way. If he really had to make an analogy, it was like a master treating his young disciple. He was clearly older than Fang Zhao by more than 10 years. Silu didn't stay long at the fitness center. He took his things and returned to his dormitory. When he sat down, although he felt a little exhausted, his mind was much more relaxed. A fight was indeed the best way to vent. His dormitory wasn't a single suite like Fang Zhao's. It was a 2-person room. However, the actor in his dormitory had already received a bento box at the end of Season 4. If he wanted to continue staying on the cast and crew, he had to pay his own way to another dormitory, and the conditions weren't as good. Now that he was alone, he also had a peaceful environment to think. Silu looked at the message his agent had sent him when he had internet access the last time. Besides asking about filming and his physical condition, he had also exhorted him on what to do and how to handle matters on the cast and crew. He had also told him to be on guard against people from Silver Wing. He wasn't the kind of person with high IQ and EQ. To be able to make it this far, besides his own qualifications, he also had an extremely capable agent. This time, he had snagged a good role. Although he would receive a bento box in Season 5, the character he was playing was unique. When the time came, even if he received a bento box, his popularity wouldn't be low. Now in Yinzhou, his popularity was much higher than before. Actually, he wasn't someone who liked to hesitate. The reason he had been able to reach his current heights and obtain so much success was because he had relied on his company, his agent, and the team behind him to give him advice. His family had also said that he should listen to the team's arrangements and not act on his own. Otherwise, if he was cheated, all the things he had worked so hard for would disappear. But now, he had encountered difficulties. He was going to receive a bento box in Season 5, and this was also the most important time for this role, yet he couldn't find his form and couldn't act to a satisfactory effect. If this continued, when it came time to shoot, he wouldn't be able to pass it even after a few takes. Silu picked up the prop knife. This was the knife used by the character in the series. He had applied to bring it back to get a feel for it, but his mind was always shrouded in fog, and he couldn't figure it out. Sitting in his dormitory and thinking about it, Silu still decided to look for Feng Zhao. From what had happened today, Feng Zhao actually wasn't as scary as his agent had said. Feng Zhao had been training with him and hadn't made any moves to attack. His arm and fist hurt because Feng Zhao's bones and muscles were too hard. On the other side, after Feng Zhao returned home, he had his usual meal to replenish his energy. Feng Zhao also took note of the actor named Silu he had met today. Some people would emit an aura that would overwhelm the characters in the series as they acted, but there were also people who would be permeated by the characters in the series as they acted, even to the extent that it would affect their entire lives. If it was some other series that leaned towards the sunny side, that would still be fine. But Founding Era was just as the psychiatrist had said. It was a dark forest, and it was too dangerous for people who ventured deep into it. If one wasn't careful, one's entire body could collapse. The more scenes one had, the longer one was in contact with the characters, and the longer one would be permeated by the characters. If it was just a 2 to 3 hour movie or a drama that had a few dozen episodes, then it wouldn't have mattered. But Founding Era was too long. Each series was estimated to have 10 seasons, and each season had 30 episodes. The actors would be permeated by the characters for even longer periods of time. Looking at the aura on Silu's body today, Feng Zhao could tell that the influence of the characters was deeper, but it couldn't be considered serious. Of course, he could also tell that Silu seemed to have other things to say, but he just hadn't said them. Just as he finished his meal, the doorbell rang. Opening the door, Silu said apologetically, "Sorry to disturb you. I have encountered some problems here. Is it convenient for you to listen and give me some advice?" Zero said that if there are any problems with the Yinzhou cast and crew, it would be best to look for you. Chapter 315. Feng Zhao knew what he meant when he heard this and glanced at Silu's hands. No knife. No. Silu scratched his head in embarrassment. Asking for help and bringing a knife? Wouldn't it be misunderstood as a fight? However, hearing Feng Zhao mention a knife, Silu had another layer of confidence in Feng Zhao. The character he was playing was someone who never left his knife. Come in. Feng Zhao handed him a glass of water. Silu politely accepted it. Thank you. But he didn't dare drink it. His agent had told him many times not to drink water handed to him by others. Even if they were from the same company, he had to be on his guard. They were all competitors. Who knew if the other party was competing for a certain role or had other motives and might add something to it? Before joining the cast and crew, his agent had exhorted him to be on his guard against other actors, especially those from rival companies like Silver Wing. Even if the other party seemed friendly and warm, he still had to be cautious. Even if it wasn't serious, just having diarrhea for a day was enough to make you feel uncomfortable. Work pressure, psychological pressure, and when the weather was bad, the whole body would feel uncomfortable. If you had diarrhea on top of that, you would be half dead. Now that Fang Zhao had handed him this glass of water, should he drink it? You want to know more about Qiguan? Fang Zhao asked. Qiguan was the character Si Lu played in the series. Yes. Si Lu's attention shifted away from the cup of water. He said seriously, I've looked up a lot of information, but the image is still not clear enough. The introduction of Qiguan in the script is also not detailed enough. When it comes to acting, the first few seasons were fine, but the 5th season is the most crucial period. I want to act this character well, hoping to better present this character and that person to the world. I heard that you are also a member of Yinzhou's consultant team and should know more about that period of history. Perhaps you know more than me, so I came over to ask. Qiguan, that person was very special. He was not suited to be born during peaceful times. The period of destruction was hell for others, but for him, it was more carefree. His thinking was actually more old-fashioned. He liked to use knives and not guns. His 3 views were also different from ordinary people. To him, the strong did not need help. He only helped the weak. Thus, he could stand at the side and watch coldly as a strong person or even more strong person died. But he could also die without a complete corpse for the sake of 2 weak researchers. Fang Zhao remembered Qiguan. He had once invited Qiguan to join his team, but he had been rejected. We are not the same kind of people. This was Qiguan's reply. Then, he took his slender blade and left without looking back. He was like a wandering knight in ancient times, doing everything according to his heart. As for what other people thought, he didn't care at all. He didn't seem to care about anything, but he had his own persistence and stubbornness. He was not a good person in the traditional sense, nor was he a heinous villain. After Fang Zhao had been reborn, he had seen some information left behind from the founding era. Every person who could move their grave into the Zhongzhou Cemetery of Martyrs had gone through many rounds of vetting. Qiguan's way of doing things made people dislike him. During the founding era, when the tomb had been moved, some people had objected, but in the end, it had still been moved to the Cemetery of Martyrs. In the eyes of future generations, his merits far outweighed his demerits. This was because the people he saved were doctors who would later develop a variety of antiviral drugs. They were also the first batch of founding members of the Academy of Sciences during the founding era. Back then, Qiguan probably didn't expect to save such a great scientist. Qiguan's grave in the Cemetery of Martyrs had no bones, only a saber covered in marks. When the grave had been moved, it had been that doctor who had personally placed the saber into the grave. Now, the one in the museum was a replica. The prop saber Si Lu used for filming was a replica based on the replica in the museum. At this moment, Si Lu was sitting on the sofa, listening attentively to Fang Zhao's analysis of Qiguan. When he came back to his senses, he realized he was drinking water. When he looked at the glass, it was only half full. Si Lu. In the past 10 minutes, he had actually unknowingly drunk half a glass of water. Would he have diarrhea? Would there be poison in it? It wasn't that Si Lu liked to think the worst, but that his agent often scared him. But Si Lu didn't have the time to continue being conflicted. Compared to this, he hoped to hear more about Qiguan from Fang Zhao. For this, so what if he was poisoned? The Qiguan that Fang Zhao spoke of was slightly different from the information Si Lu had found, but it made this person more livable. Si Lu always felt that the Qiguan recorded in the historical records was a little fake and incomplete, as if an important part of his soul was missing and not deep enough. But as he listened to Fang Zhao's words, Si Lu's previously muddle-headed thoughts seemed to gradually clear up. What Fang Zhao said was the crux of the matter. It was what he urgently wanted to know. As he spoke, Fang Zhao walked over to the place where the musical keyboard was placed. This was what he usually used when he came back to compose. At the mention of Qiguan, the person he had not seen in a long time, Fang Zhao subconsciously placed his hand on it. The sound of a keyboard broke through the fog and flew away. For that person, Qiguan, life is transformed into the wind. Death is elegant with the wind. There is no difference. He didn't know if it was because he was affected by Fang Zhao's words, or if the musical notes were too magical, but Si Lu's thoughts completely sank. Not asking for results, sparing no effort. A moment, a day, a month, a season, a year, A cycle, a lifetime. Straight into the heart. Perhaps that was Qi Guan's path of cultivation. When Si Lu had received the script and researched the information, he had thought that he would see a lonely life in the wilderness with no one to accompany him, but perhaps that wasn't the case. He had thought that when faced with death, Qi Guan would be like other people and display more emotions, but perhaps that wasn't the case. Si Lu seemed to be able to see those gloomy, repressed emotions in his own mind. The sunlight was hidden behind the world, and when the wind blew over, there was only coldness. He seemed to see the loneliness of the wilderness, but at the end of the loneliness, his heart wasn't as fretful as when he had first arrived. Deep in thought, there seemed to be some unwillingness, some loneliness. Later on, those emotions were all gone. It was as if he could hear the wind singing in the night sky, as if he could see a star falling from the sky onto the surface of a lake, still glowing. The surrounding world was silent like the deep sea. Eyes closed, eyes opened, a smile. There was no unwillingness, no loneliness. Life, transformed into the wind. Death, drifted with the wind. Unbounded voyager. Si Lu's fingers tightened, but his heart was empty. "Where's the knife?" Si Lu mumbled. "You left it in your room." Fang Zhao stopped tapping the keyboard. Si Lu turned and left. If it was the him in the past, he would still have said a few polite words, but now, he didn't say another word. Fang Zhao looked at the closed door inside. Those people had already been dead for over 500 years, almost 600 years. Elsewhere, a few days after Si Lu returned from Fang Zhao's place, he stayed in his dormitory all the way until Season 5 of the Founding Era Yinzhou chapter started filming. In the cast and crew, Si Lu had lost his usual reserved politeness. He was even more free and easy, even more unbridled, yet he restrained himself within a designated range. The knife never left his hand. Everyone in the cast and crew sensed this change, but they didn't say anything. They were all in the same industry and understood what this meant. The director was delighted, knowing that Si Lu had found his form, but he was also worried that Si Lu wouldn't be able to walk out after filming. On the day when all the scenes were shot, the director saw Si Lu still standing there in a daze and went over to pat him on the shoulder. "Remember to make a trip to Dr. Dai's place later." The director also got someone to take away the prop knife. Since the scenes were done, it was safer to take back things like knives. However, the people on the director's team had seen Si Lu's state too many times. This state was definitely not an isolated phenomenon. The further they went, the more actors would fall into this state. Yesterday, he had even heard someone from the psychologist team suggest to Director Roman that they increase the number of psychologists. A staff member of the cast and crew looked at the dumbfounded Si Lu and said to his comrade, "Sai, yet another one who can't get out. Go to the psychologist. After some time, he will be able to break free from the character." The cast and crew were too busy. Even actors from the same company or very good friends might not have the time to take care of them. Thus, the cast and crew had arranged for people in charge of such situations to bring such actors to the psychologist and ensure that they were brought over for treatment at the first opportunity. The cast and crew also didn't wish for an actor's mental health to suffer from acting in this series. Si Lu was like a robot. He listened to the staff members' instructions, changed out of his costume, washed off the bloodstains on his body, took a shower, changed into fresh clothes, and went to the psychologist for treatment. By the time Si Lu returned from the psychologist, the sky had already darkened. Si Lu wasn't as dazed as before. The staff member didn't leave. Instead, he was brought to the cast and crew's canteen to collect his sumptuous, fragrant, delicately decorated, and plentiful lunchbox. The staff member handed him the lunchbox. "Have a good meal when you get back and rest for a few days. You must be tired from filming. Sleep until you wake up naturally tomorrow." Si Lu accepted the lunchbox and said in a low voice, "Thank you," before turning around and leaving. Returning to his dormitory, Si Lu placed the lunchbox on the table and didn't touch it. Just like that, Si Lu sat in front of the table in a daze. Even though the lunchbox looked, smelled, and looked impeccable, he just couldn't bring himself to eat. He didn't have any desire to eat. He still felt that his hands were empty and didn't want to pick up his cutlery. He closed the lunchbox and continued to stare blankly. When Fang Zhao finished filming and came over, Si Lu's lunchbox still hadn't been touched. Fang Zhao had also seen Si Lu's scene today. It had been done very well, but at the same time, Si Lu's state wasn't quite right. Even though he knew that he would be brought to the psychologist for treatment, he still didn't feel at ease, so he had come over to take a look. "Can't bear to?" Fang Zhao asked. "MMHM," Si Lu replied in a low voice. "Unwillingness, reluctance, anxiety, melancholy, just like a knight who had lost his horse or a monk who had lost his prayer beads." However, these emotions didn't belong to the character but Si Lu himself. Even though his scenes were over, he was still affected by the character. During filming, Si Lu had felt that Qi Guan was his other self in this world. But now, it was time for him to bid farewell to the character, to bid farewell to his other self in this world. Taking a deep breath, Si Lu's slightly trembling fingers opened the lunchbox once again. He picked up his cutlery and, as if in a serious ceremony, ate mouthful by mouthful. However, his tears couldn't be controlled. Big droplets flowed down his face and fell into the lunchbox. Si Lu finished his meal without sparing a single grain. He also finished his drink without sparing a single drop. After wiping his face, Si Lu told Fang Zhao, "Wait a little longer." After saying that, Si Lu walked briskly into the restroom. When he came out, his face no longer looked like a fool from crying. "Let's take a photo together. When the time comes, I will post it on my social platform. Thank you for your help. I really am very grateful." Fang Zhao didn't refuse. After the photo was taken, he didn't stay behind to disturb Si Lu. Now, Si Lu needed some private time and space to ease the psychological impact. After Fang Zhao left, Si Lu edited the photo and set it to be automatically uploaded to the social platform. His agent's mission was to send out a message every time he was connected to the internet to greet his fans. The psychiatrist also told him to visit once every 3 days and only leave the cast and crew after confirming that there were no problems. Right now, he only felt tired. His body and mind were exhausted. He needed to sleep for a few days. The next day, Si Lu was woken up by the resounding sound of his communications device. Si Lu opened his eyes a slit with difficulty. At a loss, he didn't know where he was and could only answer the call mechanically out of habit. "Hello." His agent's storm-like roar came from the other end of the line. "You want to jump ship?" Si Lu looked at the time blankly and was flabbergasted to discover that today was actually Internet Access Day. Time had passed so quickly, he had thought it would be 2 days later. Why was it already time? However, Si Lu's agent saw that Si Lu didn't say anything and thought that Si Lu was tacitly agreeing. His rage intensified and his roar became even louder. "You didn't even take a photo of your lunchbox? You only took a photo with Fang Zhao and still want to say thank you? What are you trying to say? You want to jump ship to Silverwing? You've become famous and your guts have grown. You want a rebel? How many times have I said it? Stay away from Silverwing's people. Is this how you repay me?" Si Lu's consciousness returned, and he suddenly remembered. Oh, right. He had indeed forgotten to take a photo of his lunchbox yesterday. In the past, his agent seemed to have told him to look for a good angle when taking a photo of his lunchbox and had taught him many shooting techniques. However, he had forgotten. "You have found a backer and a new employer, and now you want to kick away all of us who have spent so much blood and sweat to push you up? Your father and his team were helping you write your development plans, and the next thing I see is this thing. Si Lu, you have some freaking guts." "No, you misunderstood," Si Lu hurriedly explained. His agent and the team behind him had indeed put in a lot of effort and made great contributions for him to go from a nameless nobody to where he was today. He really had no intention of jumping ship. He just wanted to tell everyone that he had been able to play this role in his best condition thanks to Fang Zhao. When he had been editing the picture, he had been a little depressed and had only said the word "thank you." Who knew that this kind of trouble would arise? When Si Lu explained the cause and effect, the anger on the other end subsided a little. Next time, don't randomly send such misleading information. You don't know that because of this photo, many entertainment media in Yinzhou are going crazy saying that you are jumping ship and that Fang Zhao is planning to poach our neon culture. Fang Zhao is the best at duping people. When he was playing games, he helped Silverwing's gaming department poach a few esports gods. Now that he is acting, he is surely trying to poach our opponent's star. Oh right, that actor who switched to Silver Wing last week was surely duped by Feng Zhao. I don't think Feng Zhao is that sort of person. How about I delete that message now? Silu asked cautiously. Delete my ass. That sounds more like a guilty conscience. Send another message. Explain the situation in more detail. No, send it to me when you are done editing it. I will send it when I think there are no problems. Forget it. I will write it for you. Go back to sleep. Remember to go see a psychologist when you wake up. After the call ended, Silu's agent lamented to his team, I am probably the most hardworking agent out of all the agents. On the other end, Feng Zhao was also bombarded with information. There were inquiries from Silverwing and probes from other companies. After he finished reading the evidence from various entertainment media online, Feng Zhao realized that he had started poaching from a rival company again. Chapter 316. The entertainment media didn't care about the truth of the matter. What they cared about was whether an incident could garner attention. If it didn't, they stirred things up. One photo happened to involve an important supporting actor in founding era, Feng Zhao, who was quite popular in Yenzhou. Looking at the person who posted the photo, wow, it was an artist from Neon Culture. Neon Culture and Silver Wing Media were old rivals. Going back a few years, those with the ability could find out that Feng Zhao had had some conflicts with Neon Culture when he had just graduated. Now, an actor from Silver Wing and Neon Culture had such good relations? Usually, even if they had good relations in private, they wouldn't say it out in the open, let alone on a public platform like this. Actually, when fans saw the photo, they didn't think much of it. If actors had good relations or helped each other out, what was the big deal about thanking them? Even if they weren't from the same company, there were plenty of actors who had good relations. However, very quickly, the entertainment media editors turned no big deal into a big deal. They even dug up incidents from when Silver Wing's gaming team was recruiting to prove Feng Zhao's poaching ability. Some time ago, Silver Wing had poached an outstanding actor from another company and pinned the blame on Feng Zhao. Regardless of whether he had done it or not, Feng Zhao was the scapegoat, who asked him to be in the limelight. If they didn't pin the blame on Feng Zhao, how were they going to attract attention? How were they going to attract attention? At the same time, they also kept an eye on the Y-cast and crew. Before they could get internet access and before Silu's team could respond, they did their best to stir things up. Afterward, Silu's agent explained the matter clearly and used Silu's tone to once again express his gratitude for Feng Zhao's help. What a professional agent had written was, of course, more thorough than what Silu had written, someone with low IQ and EQ. Not only did it express an apology to Feng Zhao, but it also wouldn't make the company unhappy with them. Neon Culture also had a few actors on the cast and crew, including first-rate and first-rate actors. However, the only one who could really help Silu find his form was Feng Zhao. But they couldn't say this openly. If they did, what would happen to the faces of the showbiz seniors in the same company? When the public relations team got started, the matter calmed down. There were so many things going on online, and founding era was a constant topic of discussion. Shifting the public's attention was very easy. The entertainment media earned some traffic and withdrew, satisfied. The team behind Silu also reaped some benefits from this incident. Feng Zhao. Feng Zhao had been made a scapegoat. Even if this matter blew over, in the eyes of many entertainment companies, Feng Zhao had already left an impression on them. This was a dangerous person. Every company had to take precautions and keep their artists a little further away from Feng Zhao, especially those that the company was focusing on. They had to minimize their contact with Feng Zhao as much as possible. What if they were poached by Feng Zhao? Thinking about it again, it seemed like what the entertainment reporters had said was true. Silver Wing had been doing well in the past 2 years, and its global influence was also increasing. It was indeed developing in the direction of a comprehensive entertainment giant, and this kind of accelerated development seemed to have really started when Feng Zhao entered Silver Wing. Of course, while they were guarding against Feng Zhao, they were also thinking of ways to poach Feng Zhao into their company. Planet Y cast and crew. Silu had specially gone to Feng Zhao's place to apologize because he hadn't thought things through thoroughly and had caused trouble for Feng Zhao, damaging Feng Zhao's image. Fang Zhao was not angry. The entertainment circle was like this. He was already used to it. Furthermore, for someone who had experienced the period of destruction, this sort of thing was nothing. Furthermore, Silverwing's team was not a bunch of freeloaders. Even if things got out of hand, they would be able to resolve it. Seeing that Silu was actually not a scheming person, Fang Zhao even turned around and consoled Silu, asking about his future arrangements. I will still be staying here for a period of time. Dr. Dai has asked me to come over a few times, Silu said embarrassedly. Their scenes were not bad. Actors who had acted for 4 or 5 seasons would get some advice from psychologists after their scenes were over. Although Silu seemed fine now, he had not completely walked out of it. His psychiatrist would still observe him for a period of time. When he felt that it was appropriate, he would be allowed to leave and would even be advised to leave the cast and crew as soon as he felt better. If he was too deeply immersed in his role, even if he walked out and continued to stay on the cast and crew, he might sink back into it again. Actually, Silu was very reluctant to leave. He had originally planned on staying on the cast and crew to learn, but now his psychiatrist and manager were not advising him to continue staying. He trusted the judgment of professionals. When Dr. Dai says I can leave, I will go back. Oh right, Fang Zhao, that piece you played last time. What was it called? I don't think I have heard it before. Silu was asking about the piece Fang Zhao had played on the keyboard when he had come over to consult Fang Zhao about the historical figure Qiguan. There was no name, Fang Zhao replied. That was also the first time I played it. I have never posted it online. Improvisation? Impressive. Silu really admired Fang Zhao now. He had also found out from other musicians in the same company that Fang Zhao had been invited to join the music team of Founding Era. That meant that if Fang Zhao had any musical compositions, he could compete with others for the position of the background music in the movie. For example, the part where Qiguan was killed, the background music had been won by a musician from Yinzhou. In the past, Silu had not understood, but now, he felt that if Fang Zhao wanted to compete, he might not necessarily be unable to compete with those seniors in the music circles. A member of the consultant team, a member of the music team, and an important supporting role, Fang Zhao was really a talent. Silu admired Fang Zhao even more. Fang Zhao was really a capable person. Silu had almost become a fan of Fang Zhao's. About 10 days later, Silu received a certificate from his psychiatrist and went to the cast and crew to handle the paperwork. He packed his luggage and boarded a transport ship from Planet Y back to Earth with other people who had received their bento boxes. After returning to Yinzhou, Silu first went to the cemetery for martyrs to pay his respects. He had already engraved Qiguan's grave number in his heart. When he arrived at the cemetery for martyrs, he walked directly to Qiguan's grave and bowed deeply. He knew that in this grave, there was only one knife. It was not the prop knife he was holding, but the one Qiguan had used. Although Qiguan seemed to have many flaws in his character in the eyes of others, in Silu's heart, he was already different. Perhaps it was because he had invested too much emotion in his acting, but Silu seemed to see another version of himself in this world, doing things he did not dare to do, like a swordsman roaming that hellish world. When the 5th season of the Yinzhou chapter was broadcast, in the episode where Qiguan was killed, the character of Qiguan had indeed earned the tears of many viewers. Tragic heroes always left a deeper impression. In people's eyes, they had already transcended the vulgar and ordinary, becoming a legend. Before the 5th season was broadcast, there were people online who had compiled a list of the people who would be killed in the 5th season based on the actual course of history. Silu's fans, as well as fans of the historical figure Qiguan, watched the series with trembling hearts. In the episode where Qiguan was killed, there was a theme music composed by a well-known musician in Yinzhou. The quality of the music was also very high. Many people felt that the plot and the music were especially tear-inducing. But Qiguan felt that even after listening to the music in the series 2 or 3 times, his feelings were actually not as deep as the music he had heard from Fang Zhao. Although his brain could no longer remember every single note of the song, every time he recalled it, there was always a faint sound. He also noticed that these voices would gradually disappear as he walked out of the role of Qiguan. As for which of the 2 pieces was better, it could not be compared like that. The music in the series emphasized moving and tragic and sacrifice, and the artistic effect was stronger. As for the song that Fang Zhao had played, it indeed belonged to Qi Guan. The positioning was different. Si Lu decided that when he returned, he would search for Fang Zhao's concert and listen to it. On this day, Si Lu had just finished recording the program and was riding back to the company. As he listened to his agent tell him about the arrangements for the next month, he suddenly looked out the window. On the huge light screen outside the tall building, the image of the advertisement was flashing. Is that the earpiece that Fang Zhao is endorsing? When Si Lu's agent heard this, he looked over and said helplessly, "Yes, it is said to be a luxury model. The advertisement and pre-sales were released some time ago." Si Lu went online and searched for the entire video of the advertisement. Sunlight, mountain streams, birth, destruction, calm water, breaking wind and clouds, sacred temples, ancient mountains and glaciers, shrapnel flying, smoke falling, day and night seemed fleeting, the vast stars by one side. The dreamy musical notes spiraled and rose beside his ears, as if he could reach out and traverse thousands of worlds. Take off the earpiece. You are just a part of the world. Put on the earpiece, and you can have the entire world. The Dating Z series descends powerfully. Listening to the sound of the advertisement, Si Lu's agent said, "I have never paid attention to it before, but after searching it, I discovered that the grade of this earpiece is rather high." The entertainment circle actually had its own hierarchy. Celebrities would also endorse luxury goods to show off their status and let the public have a better idea of their rank. Other people endorse luxury goods. It is either clothing, accessories, cosmetics, or luxury cars. The first luxury item that Fang Zhao is endorsing is actually earpiece. Si Lu's agent was also amazed. An actor endorsing earpiece. That's not right. Fang Zhao wasn't an actor in the past. Was he in the gaming circles? Composing, Si Lu said excitedly. Fang Zhao's composing is especially impressive. Back then, when he was telling me about Qi Guan, he even played an impromptu tune. At that time, it was like my entire being was brought into another realm. Then, I entered my best state, all the way until I finished shooting all my scenes. Don't you think he is especially impressive? Especially mystical? Simply poisonous. Hey, it's not poisonous. Really. I drank the water he gave me, and I'm completely fine. Si Lu could not be bothered to say more to his agent. He had just seen the pre-sales date for the first batch of the Z series. It was 2 p.m., and it was almost time. Previously, he had been busy attending various events and had not had much time to surf the internet. He had also never paid attention to news regarding earpieces, so he had only found out now when he saw the advertisement outside. Actually, every year, Fiery Bird would release a luxurious high-end earpiece. That earpiece also represented Fiery Bird's highest achievement in earpiece manufacturing. This year, the breakthrough was even greater. They had released a new earpiece system, the Z system, which once again upgraded the auditory experience. But at the same time, as a high-end line, the price of the Z series was not low. Nowadays, among the most anticipated high-end earpieces in the world, the one that always ranked first was the one that Fang Zhao wore in the most advertisements. It was a retro headset. The standard version already cost 100,000, and the high-end version cost 500,000. As for the custom-made version, that was the world of the rich. In the eyes of the public, the Dating Z series was a luxury item. As for music enthusiasts, they were more curious about Fiery Bird's latest earpiece system. The Dating series had always pursued the auditory experience. Of course, people familiar with earpieces would know. And now, all the Z series earpieces were equipped with what was said to be the pinnacle of Fiery Bird's earpiece technology, the Z system. For people who normally did not pay attention to such things, when they saw the price, their jaws dropped. But for people in the earpiece circles who paid attention to it, this was all too common. It was something that happened every year. Some people could not go back after listening to high-end earpieces once. Not only could these earpieces satisfy their sensitive ears and extremely demanding sound quality, but they also had a degree of comfort. After wearing a good earpiece, one could forget the existence of earpieces and immerse themselves in the music, allowing one to enjoy the world of music even more. Perhaps only crazy music enthusiasts would buy such high-end earpieces every year, except for those who purely wanted to show off. Every year, Fiery Bird only releases one high-end series. This year, they actually decided on the Z series. A certain music enthusiast asked in a chat group, "Your news is too outdated. Did you not pay your internet fees? How long has it been since you last connected to the internet?" Writing my graduation thesis. I'm as busy as a dog. I just got some free time today. I thought that it would be the series that was so hotly discussed last year. 2 months ago, I also heard rumors that Fiery Bird had decided on the Z series. Now, it seems like it's true. It's a new system. This is not something that comes out once a year. I heard that the manufacturing process has also been upgraded to be able to withstand extreme environments. I don't know if it's just an exaggeration, but I heard that the earpieces that Fiery Bird sent over can still maintain perfect sound quality even in the vile environment of the founding Arab film set. I'm so envious of the celebrities who endorse them. We haven't even seen the goods yet, and he's already using them. Alright, this year's divine weapon is about to come out. Is everyone ready to fight for it? Nonsense. I've already set a timer. When it's time, remind me to start fighting. Every year, Fiery Bird's first batch is too small. Every continent only produces 500 per model. Basically, they are all snatched up in 2 hours. If you fall asleep when the time comes, it will be too late for regrets. To them, if they were a step late and others had bought it, they could only stand at the side and be envious. Not only to show off, they also hope to be the first to use this year's divine weapon. Outsiders would not be able to understand their urgency. For those who were slightly better off, they could still afford to spend money like this once a year. They were not interested in clothes or luxury cars. At 2 p.m. in Yenzhou, music enthusiasts and earpiece enthusiasts were staring at the screen with hungry eyes, waiting to buy the first batch of the Z series. However, after the sales started, "What's going on? I just went to the toilet, and it's gone when I came back?" The standard model was sold out in seconds. I hesitated for a bit for the high-end model, but when I tried to buy it, it was also gone. Ball. Why can't you set the system to automatically buy it? I want to file a complaint. Ha ha ha, I got it. Luckily, my hands were fast, but I only managed to get the standard earpiece model. I didn't manage to get the classic headpiece model. I managed to get the headpiece model, but it's green. I didn't have any other colors to choose from. All the other colors have been sold out. If I can't get the earpiece and headpiece models, I'll go buy the speakers. In any case, this is one of the 3 divine weapons that Fiery Bird has released this year. Don't even think about it. I just saw that the speakers are also sold out. A bunch of gaming gods trying to snatch goods from us. TSK, why would they buy the Z series when they're gamers? Wouldn't the other series be better paired with the gaming consoles? What are they doing here? A bunch of amateurs who don't know anything. Not just that. There are also fans of the Founding Era series and Fang Zhao's fans. The competition this year is too fucking intense. I just saw a very popular article on the internet. It says that the Z series is even tastier when paired with the Founding Era epic soundtrack. It was posted in the morning, and by the afternoon, it had already been shared more than 100,000 times. One look at the wording, and you can tell it's from our industry. Who wrote it? Get out here. The person who wrote the article was staring helplessly at the ceiling at home. He hadn't managed to snag the goods either. The article that had been posted in the morning had been to help a singer friend advertise. The article had even included a list of songs and comments. To show off, he had specially mentioned the Dieting Z series. Furthermore, the number of shares had exceeded 100,000 in such a short period of time. The traces of manipulation were very obvious. Luckily, he had used a sock puppet when he had written the article. If he had been caught by this bunch of people in the industry, he shuddered, thought for a bit, and said in the group, "It's all Fang Zhao's fault." Chapter 317. Yinbei Retirement Facility. Great-grandfather Fang was sulking at the screen with a long face. Great-grandfather Fong had originally wanted to buy the same model as Feng Zhao's. After all, this was the first luxury brand that Feng Zhao was endorsing. When he had first seen the commercial, great-grandfather Fong had opened his little treasury and done some calculations. He had decided to buy the standard model. In the end, he had failed. What is Fiery Bird thinking? They are a big company after all. Have they not considered the fact that elderly people are slow? How can they outbid those youngsters? What era are we in? Why do we still have to buy manually? Is artificial intelligence invented for acting? They can't even use artificial intelligence to snatch it up. How disrespectful. Great-grandfather Fong was grumbling. Great-grandmother Fong was watering the plants on the balcony. When she heard great-grandfather Fong's words, she glanced up and continued watering the plants. That is hunger marketing. However, I heard that many luxury brands are limited edition. This sort of thing is common. Fiery Bird is not the only one doing this. Don't go complaining for no reason and make things difficult for little Zhao. Of course I know. Great-grandfather Fong was just saying it. He wouldn't really complain. If you really want to buy those earphones, why don't you wait until Planet Y has internet access and get little Zhao to help you ask? Great-grandmother Fong said, I won't bother little Zhao over such a small matter. Great-grandfather Fong shook his head. Little Zhao's filming is so tiring. Do you want him to waste time on a pair of earphones? A few days ago, I heard that actors in the cast were too immersed in their roles and couldn't get out. After filming, they stayed on set for psychological treatment. Just thinking about it makes my heart ache. I didn't know how tough filming was. Any kind of metamorphosis comes with a price. Xiao Zhao acted so well in the series. He must have suffered a lot. He still has to act for a few more seasons before he can receive his bento box. No, just thinking about it makes my heart ache even more. Great-grandfather Fong was conflicted. He hoped that Feng Zhao could finish filming quickly and go home to rest, but he also didn't want to see Feng Zhao collect his bento box so early. Great-grandmother Fong glanced over. This old man is getting more and more unreasonable as he gets older. Very quickly, great-grandfather Fong thought of something else. Although he wasn't happy about not being able to buy the earphones, he was a little excited. Not being able to sell the things he was endorsing was even more embarrassing. Now, the earphones Feng Zhao was endorsing were sold out the moment they came out. What did this mean? This meant that his great-grandson was capable and influential. Thinking of this, great-grandfather Fong became excited again. He stood up and tidied his clothes. He said to great-grandmother Fong, There's still some time before dinner. I'm going out for a walk. He then walked out with his hands clasped behind his back. There was also a billboard inside the retirement home. Great-grandfather Fong took a long detour to the billboard, which was broadcasting the latest advertisements every day. After watching Feng Zhao's Dieting Z series headset commercial as if he was admiring a work of art, great-grandfather Fong was about to share it with someone. But when he turned his head, he realized that there was no one around him. Where is he? After looking around, he didn't see any of the people who were walking nearby just now. Perhaps it was the sentiments of the old era, or perhaps it was the influence of founding era, but people had a deeper feeling for old era elements. Fiery Bird's Dieting Z series was a classic retro headset. Regardless of the configuration or continent, the pre-sales were sold out in seconds. If one didn't act fast, there was no way to get one. The earphones and speakers of the same series were also sold out very quickly. A few days later, the first batch of people who successfully bought the headphones received them. What's the first thing you do when you receive the headset? 70 to 80% of people flaunted it online. A certain Jinzhou professional esports guru posted a series of posts on his social platform. The headset has arrived. The same model as Zhao God. Thinking back, it was because of Zhao God that I decided to enter the world of professional esports. It's a pity that Zhao God has changed professions. There were also esports players from other continents who posted about the Dieting Z series headsets they had snatched up. Some mentioned Feng Zhao casually, while others were flaunting their wealth and trying to ride on the hype. However, the majority of those who lamented that Feng Zhao had changed professions and were unable to cross swords with Feng Zhao were just spouting nonsense. In their hearts, they didn't really want to face Feng Zhao. Although Feng Zhao had only appeared in the esports circles for a short time, he had a huge influence. His gaming videos from back then were still frequently discussed. The reason some people in the esports circle still called Fang Zhao God was that up until now, there hadn't been any professional esports team or any individual who had achieved such impressive results in the game. Therefore, Fang Zhao really had a part to play in the esports circles for the Dieting Z series. Jinro, the current captain of Silver Wings Gaming Department's professional esports team, saw those who lamented that Fang Zhao had changed professions and wanted to cross swords with Fang Zhao. He picked the most representative ones, took screenshots one by one, and posted a new message on his social platform. Screenshots have already been taken. When Zhao God returns from filming, I sincerely hope you guys can have a good chat with him. Screenshot, screenshot, screenshot. Silver Wings Gaming Department already had a manager, and the team also had a new leader. Sometimes they called Fang Zhao boss internally, but to outsiders, they followed the netizens and called him Zhao God. Upon seeing Jinro's post, gaming fans also ran over to take screenshots. Captain Jinro, you didn't take a complete screenshot. Let me add a few. Screenshot, screenshot. My great Tongzhou also contributes too. Screenshot, screenshot. My great Lai Zhou has 5. Screenshot. My great Huangzhou has 10. Screenshot. Gaming fans from various continents who didn't mind the commotion, as well as bystanders outside of the gaming circles, joined in on the screenshot activity. Many people posted about the Z-Series headphones online, but basically no one mentioned it to Fang Zhao. The few newcomers who had posted at the beginning wished they could delete their earlier posts, but with so many people staring at them, deleting them now would make them feel guilty, so they could only wait for this matter to blow over before secretly deleting them. They were just bragging. Was there a need to take screenshots? There were also gaming media that treated this as an interesting matter and edited a piece of news to be sent out. After that, even more people came to know about this matter. Of course, not everyone paid attention to the matters of the gaming circle. This matter wasn't a big deal, so it didn't cause too much of a commotion. Everyone didn't take it seriously either. They were just chatting and laughing, and that was it. Everyone was still discussing the Z-Series online. Music aficionados and headphone enthusiasts who had successfully snagged the headphones were burying their heads in their professional reviews. Those who hadn't managed to snag it either asked customer service when it would officially start selling or shifted their sights to other series of headphones. Of course, there were also people who had successfully snagged the headphones just to show off. Not satisfied even after posting a bunch of photos online, they left the house with the headphones hanging around their necks and headed to places with more people. Chi and City Central Commercial Plaza. 2 young men were discussing the headphones. Look, my new headphones. More than $5,000. One of them had a smug look on his face. Then he said to his companion, "You've been using those headphones for quite some time, right? You can get a better one." I think my $50 headphones are good enough," the other person said. How can a $50 headphone and a $5,000 headphone be the same? As the two were talking, a puzzled voice suddenly came from the side. Different? Isn't it just for the sound if it's under $100,000? The two of them were stunned. They thought to themselves, this bragging. Looking to the side, the headphones hanging from the other party's neck had an eye-catching logo and extremely distinctive design. It was undoubtedly Firebird's Dieting Z-Series retro headphones, the most popular of the 3 godly items in the earpiece world this year. The first person who had spoken raised his hand helplessly. All right, pretend I didn't say anything just now. Only an idiot would discuss equipment with a nouveau riche. Not everyone could afford the Z-Series. However, even if I can't afford the Z-Series, can't I just buy other series? The other models of the Dieting series that Fang Zhao had endorsed were still very cost-effective. For people who didn't have such stringent requirements for sound quality, any of them would be sufficient. The two of them looked enviously at the advertisement that had appeared on the billboard in the plaza. I feel like I have the motivation to fight again. Firebird's advertisements could be considered a frenzy. Regardless of which continent or which city, the Dieting Z-Series advertisements could be seen on the huge screens in tall buildings, or on the billboards in small districts, train stations, plazas, and other places. Of course, Firebird knew that there weren't many people who could afford it, But the main reason they were so frantically advertising the Z series was to show off. Fiery Bird wanted to tell everyone, that's right, this year's great headphone device belongs to us, Fiery Bird. Unless other headphone manufacturing companies develop technology that surpassed the Z system, they would continue to dominate the headphone industry's great headphone device in the future. Of course, the public only saw the surface. They knew that Fiery Bird had developed a super awesome headphone model, and that the person in the advertisement was the actor who played Feng Zhao in Founding Era. Previously, Feng Zhao wasn't famous in other continents. Even if many people didn't pay attention to the music or gaming circles, Founding Era had led to a nationwide viewing craze. Perhaps the order in which people from different continents read the chapters was different, but the majority of people would read the chapter in their own continent before continuing to read the other chapters. They would read every chapter once, and people who had read the Yinzhou chapter would have an impression of Feng Zhao. The image in the advertisement was different from the style in the series. It didn't matter if you couldn't recognize him. There would always be people who would tell you that the person in the advertisement was him. Feng Zhao's popularity also increased with each season of Founding Era. The sales of the other models of the Diding series that he had previously endorsed also soared. Now, in Yinzhou, Feng Zhao's popularity was at its peak. His limelight even overshadowed the three actors who played Wu Yin in Founding Era. In a certain small city in Yinzhou, on a round-the-city train, an old lady was looking at the Diding Z series advertisement in the carriage. "Oh, it's Feng Zhao." A young man beside her laughed. Yes, the person who appeared just now was Feng Zhao. The advertisement just now wasn't complete. It went by in a flash. "Auntie, your eyesight is really good." The auntie had a pleased smile on her face. "That's right, I recognized him at a glance. My eyesight is good. Everyone in our district knows." A young lady in the carriage asked curiously, "Auntie, do you chase stars?" The auntie was stunned for a moment before replying, "Nope, I don't chase stars. I watch TV series. I watch Founding Era. I just retired and I watch Founding Era at home every day. If I had to say, our Yinzhou chapter is still the best. I especially like Feng Zhao. Everyone in our district likes him. Those chapters of Founding Era one by one, his aura is the strongest. As a leader, you have to have that aura. Other people's aura is 8 meters, but his aura is 8 meters. Before I retired, I was also a leader in a company. My aura is exactly the same as his." The people in the carriage. "Then your aura has collapsed too much. In any case, I feel that he gives people the deepest impression." The auntie smiled shyly. "I like that kind of person." The people in the carriage. "Oh right, what's the name of the actor who plays Feng Zhao?" the auntie asked. "His name is Feng Zhao." "I thought you recognized him," the young lady sitting opposite her asked curiously. "The actor in the commercial is the actor who plays Feng Zhao in Founding Era. He's also called Feng Zhao, but he doesn't have the makeup from the TV series. There's a big difference. You can even recognize him. Your eyesight is really good." The auntie paused. She hadn't seen it clearly. The commercial just happened to be playing the period of destruction sequence. Her eyes had been blurred, and she had recognized the wrong person. But could she admit that her eyes had been blurred? Of course not. "The same name as in the TV series?" the auntie asked again. "Yes, it's the same." The few young ladies in the carriage were especially enthusiastic. They showed the auntie the news about when Feng Zhao had fought for the role. Back then, Feng Zhao had defeated many big-name actors from this continent and other continents to get the role. "Oh, that's impressive. Only 20-something years old? So young. I can't believe he's only 20-something when I watched the TV series." The auntie decided to share this news with her old friends in the district. They weren't star chasers. They had a deeper impression of the characters after watching the TV series. Actors might look familiar, but they might not always match. Usually, they would talk about the names of the characters in the TV series and rarely mention the actors. After arriving at the station, the auntie hurried home and told her old friends in the district about the news she had learned today. Let me tell you, the actor who plays Feng Zhao is also called Feng Zhao. Easy to remember, right? He's a young, Young fella. He's even younger than my grandson. One spread to 10, 10 to 100, 100. Yinzhou's media discovered that many of Fang Zhao's fans were middle-aged and elderly women. Most of them were retired. These people had nothing to do at home, so they watched TV series and chatted with their neighbors. Recently, the number of such fans had increased at a rapid pace. A reporter from a certain entertainment company looked at the popularity of the topic online and told his colleague, Fang Zhao has really soared. His first endorsement for a luxury product has already been a success. His commercial value has increased exponentially. It's not just him. Just look at the other actors in the cast of Founding Era. As long as they have more scenes, which one of them isn't doing very well, everyone's net worth has risen. Even those who receive their bento boxes are doing pretty well. This is the bonus of Founding Era. No wonder so many people were fighting to get in when the cast was selecting actors. If it were me, I wouldn't even need to talk about the pay. I would have to fork out my own money to get in. The Diding Z series headphones are Fang Zhao's first endorsement for a luxury product. I wonder what he will endorse next. Perhaps it will be a clothing line. Recently, there are rumors that a certain men's high-class custom-made fashion brand is in contact with them. It might also be a top-notch outdoor brand. Chapter 318. The buzz generated by Fang Zhao's endorsement of Fiery Bird's Diding Z series had just subsided a little. Just as the teams behind the various celebrities were gearing up for action, news of Zero's endorsement of garlic seized the headlines of every continent and caught the entire entertainment industry unprepared. First of all, the combination of Zero and garlic was astonishing. Its firepower was so fierce that it carved a bloody path through the crowd of celebrities who were throwing money at it. Zero, the self-proclaimed big bro of Lai Zhou, had been born into a family of great generals and was a scion of a wealthy family. Although he was often seen in the entertainment industry, no one had ever seen him endorse a product. At most, he would do commercials for movies or TV series that his own company had invested in. Now, such a person was actually endorsing garlic. What kind of provocation had he suffered to think of endorsing garlic? This was something no one could understand. Secondly, the price of the garlic this fellow was endorsing was actually no lower than silverware. A single garlic cost a few $100s, and there were premium and preferred grades that soared to over $1,000. If there was a special one in the future, wouldn't it soar to the tens of thousands? This was ripping people off. This was not the way to hype things up. In the past, even those hyped-up products had not been this exaggerated. Many people online were dumbfounded. Even garlic has become a luxury item? I was just talking about earpieces yesterday. Today, when I looked at my salary, I realized I can't even afford garlic. No. It's just that Zero is endorsing some farm. Why garlic is a luxury item, but garlic from Muzhou is still affordable. Never in my dreams would I have imagined that Lai Zhou's big bro would actually endorse something so down-to-earth. The brother in front, look at its price. Touch your chest and be honest. Which part of this garlic is down-to-earth? I just checked online. Muzhou's garlic has risen. Scammers. What about the Bureau of Commodity Prices? It's not just garlic. Agricultural products that have been falling are suddenly showing signs of rebounding. The internet was filled with protests, but for Muzhou farm owners, Zero was simply a blessing. Because of Zero, agricultural products that had been neglected for a long time had once again received attention, and their prices had rebounded. Originally, due to the increasing number of farms on foreign planets, the prices of agricultural products had been falling year after year. Muzhou's position as the global granary was no longer secure. Although a portion of fresh fruits and vegetables were still very expensive, compared to 5, 10, or even decades ago, the prices were much lower. Some time ago, some people said that unless it was some newly developed varieties, such as those with high medicinal value, other agricultural products would continue to decline in the future. In terms of species diversity, Muzhou could not compare. In terms of nostalgia, Planet Y still had the ARC project research base. Who knew how many varieties of seeds had been revived there? Now, on the various planets with the immigration plan, farmland was gradually being put to use. Even private farms on Planet Y had been set up recently. Furthermore, it was said that the soil on Planet Y was more suitable for farming. The agricultural products that had been revived a few years ago would also undergo changes when planted in Muzhou. Their original flavors would change, and the longer they were planted, the greater the change. Not every variety would change in a way that people liked. After all, the mother planet had experienced a period of 100 years of qualitative change. The changes to the soil caused by the period of destruction could not be restored. Even if it was possible to restore the soil to a more healthy state from the old era or even before that, let alone 100 years, even 1,000,000 years might not be enough. Who could afford to wait? In the past, some crops from foreign planets had been shipped back, but the quantity was small and not open to the public. They were only supplied to the upper echelons of society. In summary, common agricultural products such as fruits, vegetables, onions, ginger, and garlic did not have much investment value and were risky. Now, Zero had directly given this bunch of people a resounding slap. The garlic that Zero endorsed was sold directly online. For something like garlic, not to mention its medicinal value, it was a seasoning that was used most of the time in cooking. Of course, there were also people who felt that even if this garlic was special, wasn't it too much to sell it at such a high price? Many people left comments on Zero's public platform. Besides growing up on Planet Y, what else is so special about this garlic? Even if we add in the transportation and planting costs, it should not be this ridiculously high. I know garlic can fight diseases, protect health, kill germs, and cook, but with such a high price, could it be that it can exorcise demons? Why is it being sold at such a high price? Zero's agent had arranged for an interview with a gourmet magazine during his internet time. When he heard the host mention this question, he asked doubtfully, "Is there a need for a reason? If I say it is an artifact of garlic, then it is an artifact. It is worth such a high price." Zero listened to his agent's advice and did not reveal his acting secrets to the public. Thinking about filming, Zero proudly said, "This garlic contains life insights. You don't believe me? If you don't believe me, buy it and try it once." And when some people saw the interview and thought about it, it made sense. With Zero's background, what good things had he not eaten? If he said it was good, it would definitely not be ordinary. This bunch of gluttons who could not extricate themselves from delicacies and had sensitive and picky palates were just like those music enthusiasts. They did not lack money and would go wherever there was good stuff. Planet Y was out of the question, but that was fine. Weren't there going to be pre-sales online? Grab it. The chefs of some high-end restaurants and chain hotels were already sharpening their knives. They wanted to see what was the difference between this garlic and the garlic produced in Muzhou. Would food made with this garlic be more delicious? The first batch of 5 tons of Planet Y garlic was put online. When the time came, it was sold out in seconds. In the blink of an eye, it was gone. Those who bought the garlic tasted it as soon as they received it. Then, they posted their own cooking and meticulously arranged pictures of the gourmet delicacies on the internet and expressed their thoughts. "You don't say. This taste is pretty good. I don't know if it's good or not, but it's flavorful enough. Stimulating. This is probably the real taste of garlic. The taste is a little stimulating. If you eat it raw, it is a little spicier than the ones from Muzhou, but I don't think there is much difference." How is there not much difference? Your tongue is lacking. You can't even taste garlic. You are not suited to be a chef and can't taste true delicacies. Even Zero is better than you. Very quickly, a new pretentious move appeared. Garlic for seasoning? Only garlic shipped from Planet Y would be flavorful enough. You could not appreciate this taste, but you could not say it was ordinary. Did you think we were eating garlic? Nope. What we were eating was taste. It was pretentious. It was the style of an elite aristocrat. How many gourmets had praised it? That was the authentic taste of garlic. If you couldn't taste the difference, then there was definitely something wrong with your tongue. You couldn't even compare to Zero. The gourmet world was indeed full of good reviews, but the price of garlic was too high. Thus, many people started to think of ways to get people from Planet Y to help them purchase garlic. Wasn't that garlic produced on Planet Y? It was definitely cheaper on Planet Y. Thus, Many actors and actresses at the Y Film Studio complex were bombarded with long-distance calls from friends and family. Hey, when will you finish filming over there? Help me buy some garlic from there. It's too expensive here. There are even fakes. What's the price of garlic on Planet Y? If it's cheap, help me buy some when you come back. 5 caddies won't be too little. Even 100 caddies won't be too much. I can eat it all here. Even soldiers serving on Planet Y base received requests from relatives to help them purchase garlic. And those with connections had already contacted insiders to purchase it. Once they bought it, they would definitely buy it in bulk. If they couldn't buy it now, they could book it in advance. Zero watched as his name appeared on the news headlines of various continents' entertainment media and looked at the money in his bank account. He had already forgotten his initial reluctance when his agent had asked him to endorse garlic. Your endorsement fee is split. Are you satisfied now? That's why I told you long ago that you don't need to be envious of Feng Zhao. The market we are operating in now is huge. Zero's agent encouraged Zero as he discussed the split of profits with his partners and the subsequent hype for garlic. You just need to focus on filming. Don't worry about anything else. When the time is right, we will promote the next one, his agent exhorted. Zero nodded his head excitedly. What was so great about endorsing earphones? Who had ever endorsed garlic? None. A person of his status should be unique. He should stand out from the masses. There were many people who loved music, but were there as many gluttons? Were there? There were many people who bought earphones, but were there as many people who were addicted to good food? Were there? There was a huge difference. Zero watched excitedly as his popularity soared. Meanwhile, his agent was pondering how to sell Zero for a higher price. Back when Planet Y had applied for the experimental base, there had been large farm owners in Muzhou eyeing the land here. However, at that time, the approval process for private farms had been much stricter than for places like the film studio complex. That had not been something Planet Y base could decide. Now that they could finally purchase garlic privately, Zero's agent had joined forces with a bunch of farm owners who wanted to set up farms on Planet Y to hype up garlic. Then they had gotten Zero to advertise. In the past, there had been a limit to how much garlic could be grown on Planet Y. This bunch of people had joined forces and managed to monopolize close to 80% of Planet Y's garlic. Besides supplying Planet Y's military, the founding era production team, and the film studio complex, the rest was basically monopolized by this bunch of people. It was a monopoly. Even if other people wanted to purchase it, there were not many that could be bought. Furthermore, Planet Y's spaceport had strict inspections. Zero and this bunch of people monopolized and hyped up the market, but they still paid taxes according to the rules. That tax would practically become Y base's military expenses. On account of the huge amount of taxes, Planet Y base would not make things difficult for them. Every time they helped transport the goods, they would also take care of them. Now that Planet Y's spaceport had an increase in manpower, there were restrictions on bringing goods from Planet Y. Whether it was garlic or other agricultural products, they were not allowed to bring too much, and they were not allowed to evade taxes. Varieties that were still in the experimental phase were not allowed to be brought out. Once discovered, they would be locked up in a small black room on the base. Y's spaceport was currently implementing a double security system of machines and dogs, even though there was only one dog that could take up the post. The other dogs that had arrived on Planet Y base had not even grown up yet. Celebrities from every continent were gloomy. It was fine if they could not steal the headlines. After all, besides Silverwing's team behind him, there was also Fiery Bird's advertising bombardment. But now, they could not even beat Zero. In the past, Zero had only made the headlines in Lijo because of his influence. Globally, it was just an interesting piece of news that was treated as a joke. Now that the scope of the storm had expanded to the entire world, everyone felt that there would be no peace in the continents in the future. Over at the founding era cast and crew, during internet access, the various actors and celebrities were also paying attention to the activity online. It was rare that Wu Tianhao did not use social media platforms to make his presence known during these 2 hours of internet access. Instead, he was watching the news. Zero is really a fucking talent. Back when Zero had been filming a vampire drama, he had hyped up garlic and silverware. Now, he was hyping up garlic even more. At the same time, Wu Tianhao felt sullen. They were both descendants of great generals, and they were about the same age. In the past, he had felt rather superior. Even when Zero's acting skills had suddenly exploded, he had not taken Zero seriously. But now, seeing Zero hyping up garlic, even he was envious of the profits. Investing in so many projects and busying himself here and there did not make as much money as Zero hyping up garlic. Planet Y was really a gold-digging ground. With the explosion of topics about Zero and garlic, Fang Zhao's popularity on the internet gradually subsided. Fiery Bird would not bombard everyone with advertising bombardment every day. Letting everyone know about this product was enough. When it was officially released, another wave of publicity would suffice. Now, the opportunity to be in the limelight was given to others. Even though this wave of Fang Zhao's popularity had died down, many people still remembered Fang Zhao and the first luxury product he had endorsed. But in fact, Fang Zhao had long signed a contract with Fiery Bird for a 10th-generation game console that was even more extravagant than the Z-series. It was just that at that time, it had been a region-limited contract and not a global endorsement. Furthermore, the 10th-generation console had not been mass-produced, so advertising had naturally been pushed back. The outside world did not know about it. Fiery Bird had sought out Fang Zhao to endorse the Z-series earpieces not only because of his influence and potential, but also because of a technical challenge. They did not find it challenging to find other celebrities. Fiery Bird had never worried about sales. Finding an ambassador was not entirely about sales. For earpieces, they were challenging Fang Zhao's ears. Every time Fang Zhao endorsed a model of earpiece, he would give Fiery Bird a rundown of how he used it, as well as the product's strengths and weaknesses. Even the Z-series earpiece, which was revered as a divine artifact, had not received a perfect evaluation from Fang Zhao. Fiery Bird also did not think that Fang Zhao was looking for trouble. The Z-series frequency range was frighteningly wide, far exceeding the range that the average person could hear. Generally speaking, to hear all the details, one had to possess the ability of a certain wild beast. Fang Zhao possessed this kind of ability. The divine ears and Diding nicknames given to Fang Zhao by netizens were acknowledged by the people in Fiery Bird's R&D department. Even when the R&D personnel were free, they would communicate with Fang Zhao and ask him about his impressions of a certain product. This was a form of collaboration, something that other celebrities could not offer. Founding Era Cast Dormitory. Fang Zhao sat in his dormitory, wearing earpieces. Although he did not give the Z-series earpiece a perfect evaluation, he also admitted that it was the best series of earpieces he had ever used. All the technology was concentrated in such a small earpiece, causing Fang Zhao to sigh in admiration at the marvels of technology. Technology made the experience different. Fiery Bird had named the newly developed system Z for this series earpiece. In the eyes of the outside world, it represented Fang Zhao's Zhao, but in fact, in the old era, the letter Z also had the meaning of the Lord of the Universe. This represented Fiery Bird's self-confidence and ambition as the industry leader. Fang Zhao's fingers slid across the keyboard, and the notes were clearly transmitted to his ears. There were no traces of deliberate embellishment. Every note carried an emotion that was truly transmitted to his ears through the earpiece. If there was a flaw, it was definitely that the keyboard had not kept up. Next to the keyboard was a paper notebook. The open page was filled with all sorts of symbols that outsiders could not decipher. He was composing. Even when filming, Fang Zhao had never set aside composing. But if he wanted to better complete the task at hand, he would not be able to do a single thing well if he was distracted too much. Thus, before that, his focus was on filming. Currently, Season 5 was currently airing. The cast and crew were already filming Season 7, and Fang Zhao's scenes would end in Season 9. He wanted to complete the piece of work he had on hand before that. Chapter 319. As Fang Zhao was composing, someone came looking for him. It was already night time, and some production crews were wrapping up. Actors were returning in droves. Usually, when they returned, they would seize the time to rest or memorize their lines for the upcoming scenes. However, during this period, there were still people who came looking for Fang Zhao from time to time. Many people in the Yinzhou cast and crew knew that Lu had received inspiration from Fang Zhao and had completed the remaining scenes in peak condition in one go. Zero had used some tricks to achieve the effect he had in front of the camera. However, Lu was a truly capable actor. In Yinzhou, he was an A-list actor who had won quite a number of major awards. His death scene in the 5th season of Founding Era had an infectious power that penetrated the screen and received high praise from a large number of seniors in the industry. These two had been inspired by Fang Zhao. When actors couldn't find their form, they would come to Fang Zhao to try their luck. Later, everyone realized that Fang Zhao could indeed provide a lot of help. They didn't think too much about it. They just felt that it might have something to do with Fang Zhao's profound historical knowledge. As a consultant, he might have read the script more thoroughly and had a deeper understanding of the characters in the series than many actors. Fang Zhao had thought it was another actor, but when he opened the door, he saw Dina, the deputy head of the Yinzhou Music Association. Back when Fang Zhao had created the virtual idol Polar Light and composed the 100-year period of Destruction Quartet, Dina and Ming Tsang had given him high marks. This time, Dina had joined the music team. Ming Tsang hadn't come, not because his rank wasn't high enough, but because his son, Ming Yi, was still undergoing rehabilitation and couldn't make it. President Dina? Fang Zhao invited him in and handed him a cup of warm water. I came out for a walk after eating. I haven't had a good chat with you since joining the cast and crew, so I came over to take a look. What were you doing? Memorizing lines? Dina scanned the room. The area of the single suite was not big. Other than the bedroom used for sleeping, the living room outside was generally used for work. Everything was placed outside, and one could see it clearly at a glance. Seeing the keyboard and the paper notebook and pen on the side, Dana's smile deepened. No, I was composing, Fang Zhao replied. Sorry to disturb you. Dina was apologetic, but he was also gratified. He had come over today to ask Fang Zhao about his future career path. Fang Zhao's popularity in Yinzhou and the rest of the world had increased rapidly. He had gotten endorsements, and his popularity had soared. Would he act in the future? Or should I go somewhere else? Dina was still thinking that if Fang Zhao didn't want to give up composing, he could stay here as an invited member of the music team. If Fang Zhao could produce something, he might be able to fight for it. If she wanted to change careers, he would have to advise her. In terms of music composition alone, among the younger generation in Yinzhou, Fang Zhao was the junior that he thought very highly of. The last time he had access to the internet, he had even discussed with Ming Tsang whether Fang Zhao had given up on composing music. He had not expected to find Fang Zhao composing and not memorizing his lines. Of course, Dana was happy. Based on Dina's observations of Fang Zhao over the past few years, Fang Zhao either didn't compete, or once he did, it would be a high-quality composition. Regardless of whether it was chosen or not, Dina was very happy that Fang Zhao didn't give up composing. He didn't use the words he had prepared, and Dana didn't want to disturb this young man's creation. He didn't want to lose his inspiration because of the conversation. I'm leaving. You can continue what you were doing. You have a talent for composing music from the period of destruction, but don't feel too pressured. The important thing is participation. Music doesn't have to be fought over. Even if you don't get chosen, it doesn't mean your composition is bad. I understand, Fang Zhao replied. It's good that you can see things clearly. Dina got up and left. On his way back to his dormitory, he ran into Fei Harmonic, Jizhou's young and talented violinist. When Dina and an old friend from Jizhou were discussing this matter, the other party had proudly mentioned that this talented violinist had participated in the recording of quite a few soundtracks and songs. Fei Harmonic's solo composition had also been chosen and would be included in Season 6 of the Jizhou chapter. Dina had always been nice to talented juniors, regardless of which continent they were from. However, they weren't familiar with each other, so after exchanging pleasantries, they went their separate ways. Dina recalled the case Fei Harmonic had been lugging and wondered if it was a newly arrived violin. Fei Harmonic was in a good mood. Whenever he needed inspiration or to adjust his mood, he would put on his headphones and listen to sounds. Sometimes it was a variety of sounds that originated from nature. Sometimes it was a few famous songs of all genres and styles. People like him were sensitive to sound and had high expectations for the sound quality of their headphones. Every detail would be magnified infinitely, and their ears could not tolerate any distortion. He had only brought a pair of headphones when he had come to the set. Later, his headphones had broken, so he had borrowed a new pair. The sound quality was unbearable, especially when he was outdoors. It felt like his ears were being tortured. The climate here affected certain electronic equipment. Once his headphones were jammed, the sound transmitted to his ears was even more unbearable. He had taken advantage of the time when he had internet access to get his assistant on Earth to buy a pair of headphones and send them over. It didn't matter if it was expensive, as long as the sound quality was good, the quality was guaranteed, and it could be used in planet-wise lousy weather. Knowing that Faye Harmonic had high expectations for the sound quality of his headphones, his assistant had scoured the market and had set his sights on the Fiery Bird Dighting Z-Series, which had been hailed as one of the top 3 godly items online. Half a minute later, Faye Harmonic couldn't wait to get his hands on his new headphones. When he saw the endorsement on the packaging, his hand froze. The joy he had felt when he had finally received his new headphones had completely vanished. What bad luck! At that moment, he wanted to smash the headphones, but he hesitated. He took them out and gave them a listen. 5 minutes later, Faye Harmonic couldn't bear to smash the headphones. Instead, he tossed the packaging with the endorsement on it into the bin. Out of sight, out of mind. How could Feng Zhao endorse such good headphones? Faye Harmonic cursed Feng Zhao countless times in his heart. Feng Zhao didn't know that someone in the nearby dormitory was cursing him. After Dina left, he didn't continue composing. Instead, he read through the rest of the script and closed his eyes to ponder. As the series progressed, Wu Yan's screen time increased. The later seasons would focus on Wu Yan's point of view and how he had slowly risen to the position of a leader. Feng Zhao's screen time had decreased, but because of this, he had more time to compose. The next day, after filming in the morning, everyone gathered to eat lunchboxes from the canteen. The younger actors hadn't completely extricated themselves from their roles and were a little gloomy. A few older actors were beside them to liven up the atmosphere. They discussed the industry news they had seen the last time they had access to the internet and guessed who would continue to steal the headlines. The ones stealing the headlines are all youngsters. I'm old. I can't beat them. An older actor was more open-minded. Us old fellas are getting old. Just focus on filming. Let the youngsters mess around with the headlines. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm just over 100 years old. I look like I'm in my 70s or 80s. I'm still young. Last time, a fan called me an ageless male idol. Don't take it seriously. The eyes of the fans have their own filters. We don't compete for looks now. We compete internally. A while ago, my agent told me that quite a few big brands are looking for me to endorse. Hee. My career has given me a youthful glow. After filming Founding Era, I'll take a few commercials to earn some travel money and relax. It's too tiring. Don't be fooled by their relaxed chatter. It was a topic that allowed them to relax and let the other young actors in the cast and crew relax. However, even though these older actors were experienced and had strong psychological resilience, they still couldn't escape the influence of their roles. Only after filming was over, and they avoided everything related to their roles, would the influence gradually fade. Feng Zhao, your previous commercial wasn't bad. My granddaughter even managed to snag a pair of earphones of the same model. When we get back to Yenzhou, you can sign it. An older actor glanced at Feng Zhao, who was wolfing down his second lunchbox. He had lost count of the umpteenth time. Feng Zhao's attitude is really good. No problem, Feng Zhao replied. Another older actor was about to say something when he heard someone shouting Feng Zhao's name. Big Brother Zhao. A small figure rushed over. The other actors smiled when they saw it. Little Tian, you didn't go over to your dad's today? An actor asked. The person who had come over was Liu Outyin, the minor actor who played the role of young Wu Yin. Actually, this wasn't Liu Outyin's original name. His parents had named him Liu Ao. Everyone in his family was in the arts, including actors and musicians. Liu Ao's starting point was higher than the others. Of course, he was rather talented. He had made his debut at the age of 3. Because of his brilliant acting skills and strong sense of presence, he had turned a supporting role into a leading role. At the age of 4, he had won his first prestigious award. After he became famous, Liu Ao had researched online and felt that he had the halo of a leading role. He had changed his stage name to Liu Aoyin. At the age of 6.5, he had successfully won the role of young Wu Yin by relying on his family background and his own abilities. Logically speaking, Liu Aoyin should have been more familiar with Wu Yun and He Lizi. The three of them were playing the same role at different ages and could communicate more. However, as the leading role of the Yinzhou chapter, even if it was played by 3 people, the workload was heavy. The early stages were fine. After all, the young Wu Yin didn't have many important matters to deal with, so he had fewer scenes. Liu Aoyin's workload was also lighter. After Wu Yin became an adult, he had more scenes. In order to play the young Wu Yin well, Wu Yun was under a lot of pressure. During filming, there were many areas where he didn't meet the director's requirements. He needed to spend more time to resolve them, so naturally, he didn't have time to interact with Liu Aoyin. He Lizi was even busier. Wu Yun was under a lot of pressure, but He Lizi was under even more pressure. He had no time to chat with Liu Aoyin. Perhaps because they had worked together so well in the first season, Liu Aoyin had a good impression of Fang Zhao. After they had gotten to know each other, even after filming his scenes, he would pester Fang Zhao for a chat every time he came over. In order to play the role of Wu Yin, this little fella had suffered and lost quite a bit of weight. He hadn't touched high-calorie snacks for a long time, so in the first season, the audience had seen a skinny, malnourished figure that fit the historical background. After filming his scenes, this little fella had eaten all the snacks he hadn't eaten in the past few months. After a few months, he had returned to his pre-diet weight. Liu Aoyin had originally planned to control his appetite after acting in Wu Yan's childhood scenes and play a minor role. There would always be children's roles in every season of the show, but most of them were minor characters. Some of them were just background characters. Liu Aoyin had been clamoring to play a minor character, but he had been rejected by the director. None of the filming teams had let him in. Many of the background characters in the series had been created with computer special effects. This was a special case. Since he couldn't play a minor character, Liu Aoyin wanted to watch his seniors compete, but his request to watch was still rejected by the director. Kids weren't like adults. It wasn't good for them to stay malnourished for a long time and live in a stressful environment. The strong negative emotions that the old actors brought out when they were acting were not suitable for children of this age to see. So if Liu Aoyin wanted to drop by with the filming team, he could only come over after filming had ended. Liu Aoyin's father was an actor and was filming in the production team next door. His mother was a musician and had been invited to join the music team. He also had a few relatives who were influential people in the industry. Hearing someone ask about his father, Liu Aoyin replied, "He isn't filming today. He's watching a performance at the music center. There's a performance there today. Many actors without filming assignments are going. Aren't you guys going?" The music center was a place for the music team to rehearse and communicate. There were many musical instruments, a professional recording studio, and a concert hall. There were frequent performances there, and musicians treated it as a form of communication within the industry. Over here, actors without filming assignments would listen and relax. This was what a psychologist had suggested. "Big Brother Zhao, are you going to listen in this afternoon?" Liu Aoyin asked. Fang Zhao glanced at his little friend, who was looking at him expectantly, and nodded. "I don't have any scenes in the afternoon. I'll head over there to take a look. Then let's go together in a bit. Big Brother Zhao, you eat first. I'll go inform Director Bai." Liu Aoyin ran over to the executive director's side. "Fang Zhao, you're quite popular," an old actor said with a chuckle. In the past, Ji Polin and a few other young actors had treated Fang Zhao as the center of attention. After Ji Polin and the others had finished filming, Fang Zhao had let them go to various filming teams to look for opportunities. 11 chapters, 11 different production teams. There would always be times when there was a shortage of actors. Playing extras was also a kind of experience. Going to a foreign production team to get to know more actors and learn more acting techniques was a good thing for Ji Polin and the others. Now, Ji Polan and the others rarely appeared on the Yinzhou chapter's production team. Lu Outyin, however, came over from time to chat with Feng Zhao. Not long after, Lu Outyin ran back. Seeing that Feng Zhao had finished eating, he asked, "Big brother Zhao, let's take another photo. I'll post it the next time I have internet access." "Didn't you post it before?" Feng Zhao asked. "Again, I don't have any scenes anymore. If I don't make an appearance, the fans will forget about me. This time, I have to ride on Big Brother Zhao's popularity." Lu Outyin, who had gotten Feng Zhao's approval, was especially happy. He did not just stand quietly beside Feng Zhao and take photos. Instead, he climbed onto Feng Zhao's body as if he were climbing a tree. Using Feng Zhao's support, he sat on Feng Zhao's shoulder. After taking the photo, Lu Outyin excitedly shouted to the actors who were watching with smiles, "I'm sitting on the shoulders of a giant again." Lu Outyin's words had a source. In his later years, Yinzhou's great general Wu Yin had been interviewed on a television program. He had once said that the reason he had been able to reach his current heights in life was because he had once sat on the shoulders of a giant. In history, the only photo of Wu Yin as a child was the one he took with Feng Zhao. In the photo, the petite Wu Yin was sitting on Feng Zhao's shoulders. Much of the Yinzhou chapter's filming of Wu Yin had been adapted from Wu Yan's memoirs. In Wu Yan's memoirs, he himself had said that without Feng Zhao, there would be no Wu Yin. Wu Yin had been brought up by Feng Zhao. During the first season of the Yinzhou chapter, there had been a similar scene. The petite Wu Yin, who had played the role of a young Wu Yin, had sat on the shoulders of a smoky and bloody Feng Zhao. He had been a little nervous, his eyes flashing with excitement. It had almost coincided with the historical photo. Outside of filming, Lu Outyin, who was getting fatter by the day, had taken many similar photos with Feng Zhao after he had removed his makeup. I, Lu Outyin, have also sat on the shoulders of a giant, and not just once. My future is limitless. After saying this, Lu Outyin asked Feng Zhao, "Don't you agree, Big Brother Zhao?" "Lu Xiaotian, you have gained weight again," Feng Zhao said. This little brat had no filming assignments. After he had set himself free, he had eaten too much and regained his weight too quickly. Nonsense. I have clearly been eating very little recently. Lu Outyin looked at his white and chubby arms, lacking confidence. I have only gained a little weight. Besides, Big Brother Zhao, you have a lot of strength. I'm still a baby. This bit of weight is a piece of cake for you. Knowing that Feng Zhao could easily carry him, Lu Outyin did not get off Feng Zhao's shoulders. Instead, he showed Feng Zhao a few photos he had taken recently and whispered some gossip. "Big Brother Zhao, that special gym that only the main characters and important supporting characters can use has been given a nickname recently. What is it called? Take a guess. Gathering of Heroes?" Chapter 320. Why Old Veterans? Because by the 6th and 7th seasons, the heavyweights in the series had started to age. The human body had changed in those 100 years. It had been a long-term process, not a sudden change. Children born during the period of destruction would experience more obvious changes, while other people's bodies would slowly change day by day. However, they still could not compare to people of the new era. They were all 100 years old, but those who had experienced the end of the world right from the start looked much older than the people of the new era. As for the plots of the 6th and 7th seasons, they roughly revolved around the 60s and 70s of the period of destruction. According to historical footage, many of the important characters at that time looked a little old. As time went on, these characters would gradually look older. Based on the age of the old era, if the period of destruction had not suddenly descended, most of these people would have left their jobs and retired. They were true old veterans. Feng Zhao chuckled when he heard this. Back then, he had also wondered how he would have retired if he had not experienced the period of destruction and how leisurely his life would have been. But the real outcome had been fighting to the death. When Lu Outyin saw that Feng Zhao was not angry, he continued, "Big Bro Zhao, when we go to the music center later, can you give me an autograph? A pair of Diding Z-series headphones and a few photos." "Not much. Everyone in my family likes you. Grandpa and Grandma also follow the series. They say that in the Yinzhou chapter, besides me, you are the one they like the most. Sure, it was just an autograph. Fang Zhao did not reject such a small matter. The music center had been jointly designed by a number of world-renowned design masters. The building did not have the glossy splendor of a new era city. Just by looking at its exterior, one could not see any technological or fashionable elements. On the contrary, the designers seemed to have used a pious method to make it resemble the local natural terrain, blending in with the rocks, sand, hills, and earth. From the outside, it looked very rustic and had a strong local vibe. However, after walking in, one would discover that high-end technology was everywhere. Many teams with different musical styles were gathered here. There were dozens of practice rooms and a dozen or so concert halls, but one could not hear the sound of any musical instruments on the first floor. When entering the main entrance of the music center, one could only hear soft chatter coming from people sitting in the first-floor walkways and rest area. Overall, it was relatively quiet. Lu Outyan's father, carried a school bag and quickly walked over from the resting area on the first floor. He said to Lu Outyan, "Come down." How old were they? Did they still think they were 2 years old? He even needed someone to carry him while he was walking. How many times have I told you? He lifted Lu Outyan off Fang Zhao's shoulder and said apologetically to Fang Zhao, "Sorry, kids don't know any better. Have you been like this all the way from the set to here?" Father Lu looked at Lu Outyan. Lu Outyan moved away guiltily. Father Lu raised his eyebrows and opened his mouth to reprimand. Before his father could say anything, Lu Outyan leaned over and took the bag from his father's hand. "Dad, did you bring the things I asked you to bring?" Lu Outyan's father ignored him and even raised his arm to stop Lu Outyan from touching the bag. This little brat just loves to cause trouble. "Fang Zhao, you must be tired carrying this piglet all the way here, right? Come, let's go take a break over there. It's still lunch break, so the performances haven't started yet." Father Lu ignored Lu Outyan's protest at the word piglet and brought Fang Zhao to the rest area. "If I'm a piglet, Dad, you're a big piglet. My bag. Dad, give me the bag. Big Brother Zhao promised to sign for me. Don't waste Big Brother Zhao's time after signing." Lu Outyan chased after Fang Zhao with his short legs. After chatting with Fang Zhao for a while, Father Lu saw that Fang Zhao really didn't mind, so he didn't reprimand Lu Outyan anymore. After all, this was a public place, and many people were watching. It was better to talk to Lu Outyan alone when they got back. How embarrassing was it to keep sitting on Fang Zhao's shoulder? Taking pictures was one thing, but walking so far and letting Fang Zhao carry him? Why didn't he look at his own weight? This little brat was asking for a beating. "Fang Zhao, if you are not in a hurry, eat while you sign. The refreshments here are pretty good. The food these artists eat is more exquisite than the food in our actors' canteen. Perhaps the taste can't compare to the food at the food city, but it's more artistic. This is a benefit given to them by the investors. However, if you want to eat here, you can only swipe the card here. Only invited members of the music team have a meal card for the music center. I swiped my wife's card." Father Lu didn't feel the slightest bit embarrassed. Instead, he was a little pleased and flaunting. But on second thought, "Oh, Fang Zhao is also a member of the music team and has a card here. Big Brother Zhao here, just sign your name here." At the side, Lu Outyan finally got his bag. He took out his earphones and passed a pin to Fang Zhao. "There are 2 more photos. Let's take a group photo. Sign here. When the internet is available, I will post your signed photos." Fang Zhao took the pen, earphones, and photo and signed. "There are also 2 stills of you. I got them for my grandparents." Lu Outyan handed over another 2 photos. After signing 2, another 2, another 2, and another 2, watching Lu Outyan take out 2 by 2, Fang Zhao smiled and said, "All right, take out the rest. I will sign them together." This little brat really had a lot of tricks up his sleeve. Lu Outyan took out all the photos, cards, and whatnot from his bag. Some were for elders, some were for brothers, and there were also neighbors and classmates. In total, there were more than 50. Lu Outyan was embarrassed and didn't know what to say. All he could do was laugh foolishly. He had lied to Fang Zhao and said it wasn't a lot, but looking at the situation now, it was a little too much. From the corner of his eye, he saw his dad's face darken. After signing all 50 photos, Fang Zhao handed over the signed photo cards and pen. Hey, thank you, Big Brother Zhao. Order whatever you want to eat. I can swipe my mom's card too. Father Lu pointed to an oval couch not far away and told Lu Outyin, keep it down. If you don't want to eat, go over and sleep. Lu Outyin saw that his dad didn't look too good and didn't dare be stubborn. He reluctantly moved over to the couch, but he didn't want to sleep and couldn't stay idle. His eyes scanned the surroundings, trying to find something fun to do. Coincidentally, he saw a Muzhou actor bringing a dog in, and his eyes lit up. There were quite a few Muzhou actors who brought dogs with them. These dogs were from Muzhou's famous police dog academy. They were adult dogs and could understand a lot of commands. The Muzhou chapter of Founding Era did not lack scenes with dogs. Dogs had always played an important role in Muzhou, and they were heavily written about in historical records. The Cemetery of Martyrs had many tombs and statues of dogs. When choosing dogs for filming, the Police Dog Academy had considered aspects such as their appearance, intelligence, and temperament before transferring a batch over. The Muzhou actors were already familiar with them. After arriving on Planet Y, they brought them with them everywhere to foster a good relationship. During filming, both sides could work better together. The Music Center did not explicitly prohibit dogs, so the relevant Muzhou actors still brought their dogs with them when they came. Lu Outyin was both afraid and curious about those dogs that were much bigger than him. He couldn't help but tease them every time. Those dogs had all been trained and were leashed. Even if the dogs got angry from being teased, they wouldn't chase after Lu Outyin and bite him. There was someone holding them. But it was also because of this that Lu Outyin became more and more daring. Even though his dad had told him many times not to tease dogs, he still couldn't help but want to. It was the same this time. When he saw a Muzhou actor bringing a dog in, Lu Outyin's legs moved uncontrollably toward the dog. Father Lu was chatting with Fang Zhao about the cast and crew. He also told Fang Zhao some useful things, such as some code words that outsiders didn't know. Outsiders might not understand, but people who had been in the industry for a few years knew that the same words had a different meaning within the industry. Lu Outyin's torment in the cast could be attributed to him being young and insensible. As a father, he had to help him out. He had to remember all the favors he owed and return them later. Father Lu had his own way of doing things to be able to survive in this industry. Although he was a well-known actor in the film industry and was a big-name star in the eyes of netizens, the cast and crew of Founding Era had no shortage of big-name stars. He wouldn't rely on his little background and connections to put on the airs of a senior in front of a newcomer in the industry like Fang Zhao. Of course, as he spoke to Fang Zhao, Father Lu also diverted some of his attention to Lu Outyin. Seeing the brat tease the dog again, Father Lu's head started to burn again. Father Lu had not been familiar with the Muzhou actors in the past, but now that everyone had friends and relatives at the music center, they often came over to freeload on food and drinks. After a while, they had become more familiar and would exchange a few words when they met. Thus, when the Muzhou actor looked over, Father Lu shot him a look and made a few hand signals. Lu Outyin, this little fellow, had not learned his lesson. Lu Outyin, who didn't know anything, was staring at the large dog sitting there obediently, holding a long straw for drinking fruit juice. Muzhou dogs were generally very large. For the sake of the filming effect and to let more people see the majesty of Muzhou dogs, the Police Dog Academy had chosen especially awe-inspiring dogs. The dog sitting there was even taller than Lu Outyin by 2 heads. When Lu Outyin had walked over, the large dog had noticed him and stared at him vigilantly. It also knew that this little brat liked to tease it. When Lu Outyin approached, it would let out an impatient growl. From a distance, Lu Outyin stretched out his arm and anxiously poked the large dog with the straw. The large dog growled, got up, and took 2 steps toward Lu Outyin. Actually, it was just the length of the leash. Usually, it would just scare people like this and would not use its strength to struggle free of the leash. Lu Outyin had been scared like this a few times before. After a few times, he was not that afraid anymore. Very experienced, he took a few steps back, just in a position where the dog could not touch him. Then, platter, The man and the dog looked over and saw the leash on the ground. Lu Outyin, turn around and run. The large dog looked at the leash on the ground and raised its head to look at the Muzhou actor. Seeing the actor make a hand signal, the dog immediately chased after Lu Outyin. Lu Outyin quickly turned his head to take a look. Seeing the large dog chasing him, he was so scared that he screamed and ran toward his father. Given Lu Outyin's short legs, how fast could he run? The large dog looked like it was chasing him closely, but it was not running at full speed. When the people around saw this, they knew it was teasing the child. Father Lu got up and walked over. He opened his arms and prepared to scoop up his son, thinking to himself, "Have you learned your lesson this time?" Unexpectedly, Lu Outyin turned around, bypassed Father Lu, and headed toward Feng Zhao. He climbed up Feng Zhao's shoulder with practiced ease. Father Lu. The large dog stopped about 5 steps away from Feng Zhao. Its nose twitched, and it looked at Feng Zhao suspiciously. It took a step closer and sniffed, vigilant and curious. Following that, it turned its head suspiciously to look at the Muzhou actor walking over and snorted. Father Lu's face darkened. He picked up Lu Outyin from Feng Zhao's shoulder and gave him a slap on the butt. "Let's see if you can still tease dogs in the future." The Muzhou actor who had walked over picked up the leash and smiled at Lu Outyin. "Little friend, don't do that again. If the dog is not on a leash, you will get bitten. Did you hear that?" Father Lu chided in a low voice. The Muzhou actor saw the dog sniffing in the air from time to time. As it sniffed, it took a step closer to Feng Zhao. "This dog is well trained," Feng Zhao said. Hearing the praise of his own continent's dog, the Muzhou actor was happy. "Of course. Our Muzhou dogs are all smart. Furthermore, it graduated from the police dog academy. It's the cream of the crop. If you want to raise a dog," halfway through his sentence, the Muzhou actor paused. When he had first learned of Feng Zhao, it had not been because of Feng Zhao's status as a composer or actor. It had been because of Feng Zhao's dog that had stirred up trouble in Muzhou. Thus, the Muzhou actor changed the topic. "That curly hair of yours is pretty good too. Why didn't you bring him along?" Feng Zhao replied, "He still has a mission." The Muzhou actor had a look of understanding. He guessed that Feng Zhao had definitely gotten curly hair to act in commercials or television dramas to earn money. After all, that dog's net worth was among the highest in the world. Foreigners loved to do such things. But at the same time, there was some disdain in their hearts. They couldn't stand foreigners using dogs as tools to earn money. Regardless of what he was thinking, the Muzhou actor did not show it on his face. He still chuckled and said a few more words to Feng Zhao and Father Lu before leaving with the dog. But as he left, that big dog turned back to glance at Feng Zhao suspiciously. Its nose sniffed the air again, and it let out a low whimper. If its personal trainer was here, he would surely know what it was trying to say. Feng Zhao had the scent of its own kind on him. Every few days, Feng Zhao would go to the base to check on curly hair. Even if he changed his clothes every day, as long as Feng Zhao did not purposely remove the smell, some of curly hair's scent would still remain. But the Muzhou actor did not understand. He just thought that the big dog was still angry at Lu Outyin. And the curly hair that he thought Feng Zhao had left on Earth to earn money was actually working overtime at the Y base. Feng Zhao did not continue staying here. After informing Father Lu, he headed over to the concert hall. It was almost time. He went to look at the performance list of each concert hall and chose which one to listen to in the afternoon. After Feng Zhao left, Father Lu brought Lu Outyin along to apologize to the people sitting in the lobby on the first floor. Each person was given a cup of tea. It wasn't anything expensive, but it was still a gift. Just now, their side had been a little noisy, and someone had frowned. He couldn't pretend that nothing had happened. He also used this opportunity to tell Lu Outyin not to make too much noise here, and to forget about flirting with dogs in the future. After walking around, Father Lu decided to bring Lu Outyin to watch a performance. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up," Lu Outyin's father urged when he saw Lu Outyin walking slowly. "My legs are weak." Lu Outyin was frightened by the dog, and his legs were still a little weak. Just now, when his father apologized to him, he endured it and did not say anything. Now, he could no longer endure it. Let's see if you can still flirt with dogs in the future. Lu Outyan's father went over and picked Lu Outyan up. He had no way of learning from Fang Zhao. He couldn't carry his chubby little fellow on one shoulder, so he could only let Lu Outyan ride on his neck. Why do you run to Fang Zhao's place when you run into trouble? Father Lu was still concerned about this matter. I feel that big brother Zhao feels more secure, Lu Outyan replied. Secure my ass. You have to know who your daddy is. Of course I know. Lu Outyan's tone was serious. Don't worry, I will definitely take care of you when you are old. Chapter 321. Fang Zhao did not walk in the same direction as Father Lu and the others. The venue Father Lu and the others were going to was a more relaxing and refreshing concert hall, while the one Fang Zhao was going to have a different style. The cast and crew members would choose different styles of music based on their own needs. Those who wanted to relax went to a venue with soothing music, while those who wanted to find inspiration went to another venue. Most of the people at the music center were people from the music industry, and in this place that was cut off from the outside world, the rules of the industry were very clear. Some young singers who used to be very famous on the internet were quite content here. This had nothing to do with suppression or exclusion. Separated from the public opinion online and isolated from fans, it was easy to see where one stood, how many artistic achievements one had, and how high one's status was. Many unfamiliar faces in the outside world actually had rather high statuses in this industry, and some people who had once been able to summon wind and rain in the outside world still had to act like quails when they returned to this industry. This afternoon, there were 5 concert halls that had scheduled performances. Although they were called performances, they were actually just exchanges between individuals or teams. Fang Zhao browsed through them and chose a venue. Just as he entered the hall, Fang Zhao heard someone shout, "Fang Zhao? Come, sit here. There are seats here." The person who had spoken was called Xiao Tingjing. He was a veteran actor from Yinzhou, but he had not signed with any management company. Instead, he had set up his own studio and developed globally. And because Xiao Tingjing mostly played villains, he was jokingly referred to as a professional villain. Xiao Tingjing had the face of a villain. He was not ugly, and his looks were not bad, but he did not look like a decent person. Given his acting skills, of course, he could play a decent person, but in comparison, his sinister, cunning, and awe-inspiring villains were more deeply rooted in people's hearts. In the words of netizens, Xiao Tingjing was suited to play the opposite of his name. Those roles, in general, they were not good people. Directors loved to find him to play these kinds of roles. Because he often played villains, his fan support was not as high as others, but he was still rather recognizable. On a global scale, even if people did not know Xiao Tingjing's name, they would still remember his face and the temperament that suited him to be a villain. Xiao Tingjing himself was rather helpless. Is it my fault that I look like this? This time, he had played Zongqian in the Founding Era Yinzhou chapter. Anyone who had read history books knew that Zongqian's methods were unyielding, bloody, cold, and heartless. He was a major villain in Yinzhou history. During the period of destruction, besides fighting against the heavens, one also had to fight against people. The focus of Season 6 of the Yinzhou chapter was fighting against others, and it was also a turning point. In the 6th season of the Yinzhou chapter, Fang Zhao had trampled over the hegemon Zongqian and become one of the true core characters of this land. Because of the role's anti-infiltration, Xiao Tingjing looked colder than usual, especially with a straight face. When his cold gaze swept over, it made people tremble, as if they were being stared at by an anaconda. The children were especially afraid of him. Even Lu Outyan, who loved to cause trouble, would always stay far away from Xiao Tingjing. In the movie, Wu Yin was traumatized by Zongqian. In real history, Wu Yin had almost died at Zongqian's hands when he was young, and had personally seen Zongqian too kill someone. Outside of the movie, Lu Outyan and Wu Yun, who were playing the roles of Wu Yin, felt uneasy when they faced Xiao Tingjing. After all, they were still young. Under that cold and emotionless gaze, they were unable to maintain their composure. Out of the 3 actors playing Wu Yin, only He Lizi could stand up to him. Of course, This kind of effect was also because Xiao Tingjing's acting skills were indeed top-notch. Xiao Tingjing smiled as he greeted Fang Zhao. He had received his bento box at the end of Season 6. Now that the cast and crew were filming Season 7, he no longer needed to be immersed in his role. However, he did not seem to be completely out of character. When he looked at people, his gaze was still cold. It was to the extent that when the surrounding people saw Xiao Tingjing smile, they could not help but shiver. They always felt that this person's smile was very scary. Xiao Tingjing did not care about what others thought. In the movie, Fang Zhao had stepped on him to rise, but outside of the movie, Xiao Tingjing did not give him a cold shoulder. Instead, he warmly invited Fang Zhao to watch the performance together. Actually, there were quite a number of actors who came to the music center. As Founding Era continued to be filmed, the number of people who received bento boxes increased. There were even more people who were idle and unwilling to leave the cast and crew. When they had nothing to do, they would come to listen to performances and interact with actors from various continents and expand their social network. There were quite a number of people who interacted with Xiao Tingjing, but very few people were willing to sit beside him while watching a performance, so both sides of Xiao Tingjing were empty. Fang Zhao did not reject the invitation. He walked over and sat beside Xiao Tingjing. Xiao Tingjing was very happy that Fang Zhao had chosen to come to this music center to watch a performance. Xiao Tingjing gave Fang Zhao a thumbs up. You definitely won't be disappointed if you choose this performance. They are all God-level singers who are ranked globally. Perhaps they are not that famous online, but in the music circles, they are all like this. Oh, I just heard someone from the cast and crew say that you brought that little fellow Liu Outyin along? Xiao Tingjing asked. Yeah, I left him to his dad, Fang Zhao replied. Xiao Tingjing scoffed. That little fellow is quite young, but he is especially crafty and ruthless. Otherwise, with so many people around the world competing for the role of young Wu Yin, there are so many people who are better than him in terms of family background and trophies. So many kids competed for the role of young Wu Yin, but in the end, he still managed to snatch it. Another reason is that he hardened himself to reduce his weight and look like the character should. In the end, the director and the committee of 100 chose him. How can he stand out if he doesn't strive a little? Fang Zhao asked. Seeing that Fang Zhao was not surprised, Xiao Tingjing laughed. Seems like I worried too much. He had been worried that Fang Zhao had been deceived by that little fellow Liu Outyan's naive appearance. He had not expected that Fang Zhao had already seen through it. After a while, Xiao Tingjing suddenly asked, I heard that many actors from Yinzhou sought you out to discuss their roles. I also heard from a friend that you are a member of Yinzhou's historical advisory team and have a deep understanding of Yinzhou's history. Fang Zhao waited for the other party to continue. I know a little, but not very much. Then, what kind of person do you think Zongqian is? Xiao Tingjing asked. Zongqian had risen from insignificance during the period of destruction, from ordinary to resplendent, then to his downfall. In the long river of history, he had only blossomed for a short while, but he had brought about countless shocks. He had once been the faith of the people of that region and had countless fanatical followers. He had once dominated a region. In that era of despair, it was he who had brought the survivors of that corner of the continent out of hell, but he had stubbornly led people into another abyss. The people of that era were not soft-hearted. The leaders had their own methods, but none of them were as extreme as Zongqian. Zongqian. Fang Zhao's gaze was unfocused. It was as if he was looking at a certain point in the void. He is a savior who has taken the wrong path. Xiao Tingjing looked at Fang Zhao in astonishment. He lowered his eyes and was silent for a while before letting out a hearty laugh. His eyes seemed to have a fiery glow. Exactly. The human heart had always been biased. One's position determined one's brain, and one's standpoint determined one's direction of thinking. Whichever character one was playing, they would definitely be more willing to think from the perspective of the character itself. Xiao Tingjing was the same. If one was too immersed in the character, they would have a kind of emotion that others could not understand. Although in Yinzhou's history books, Zongqian was an absolute villain that everyone cursed at. But when one was truly immersed in history and immersed in the character itself, It was as if one had experienced Zhong Qian's entire life's glory and loss. A savior. Xiao Tingzheng sighed softly. He had asked many people about their views on this historical figure, Zhong Qian, but they would either label him as a villain or say some nonsense against their will on account of him, a senior in the showbiz industry. Not being able to enter the cemetery of martyrs and being criticized by later generations was indeed a failure from the point of view of modern people. This was the first time Xiao Tingjing had heard this evaluation from Fang Zhao, and it was also the most heartfelt words. He had never imagined that such a sentence would actually come from Fang Zhao's mouth. Clearly, the two of them had played opposing characters in the series from start to finish. After that, Xiao Tingjing did not say anything else. The performance was about to start, and the chatter in the venue gradually died down. The opening act was the world-famous female singer Windsor. She was singing the closing song of the 6th season of Founding Era, Yenzhou Chapter. The 6th season was about to air, and the closing song had just been decided. It was the song that Windsor would sing at the opening. It was a symphonic epic with a pop fusion. It was not easy to sing well, but Windsor was a senior in the music industry. She could sing classical, pop, rock, bel canto, opera, and everything else, and she sang it rather well. From this song, Windsor's skillful singing skills could be heard. Music was a very mystical thing. People could find peace from music and also gain strength from it. The music was somewhat demonic and sorrowful, yet it did not lose its majesty and vastness. There was no smoke or corpses, but it was as if the wind that reeked of blood was blowing past. It was like a flower of sin blooming under the curtain of the night, gorgeous and splendid, densely packed, vigorous, and then withering. This song was very much in line with the dark tone of the 6th season, but when Fang Zhao heard it, this song seemed more like it was written for Zhong Qian. When the song came to an end, the venue burst into applause. Xiao Tingjing, who was sitting beside Fang Zhao, was especially excited. He sprang up from his seat, and whatever cold, stern, and evil aura of a villain had completely vanished. His IQ seemed to have dropped to 0, and he was smiling like a fool. His 2 hands clapped vigorously as if he was not afraid of pain. With a pleased look on his face, he turned his head and shouted at Fang Zhao. The one who just sang, Windsor, a goddess-level singer, my wife. Fang Zhao. Did you know that the closing song for the 6th season of the Founding Era, Yenzhou Chapter, was written by her? Impressive, right? Fang Zhao. Xiao Tingzheng continued to clap vigorously. My wife specially composed it for my role, and it is also a commemoration of my curtain call. Fang Zhao. As he spoke, Xiao Tingzheng seemed to recall something and said to Fang Zhao, I almost forgot. You don't even have a wife. Hey, you don't understand how I feel. Fang Zhao. What a stab in the heart. Xiao Tingzheng continued. Oh, right. It seems like the character you played in the series was all alone until his death. Fang Zhao. Chapter 322. This time, Fang Zhao saw a different side of Xiao Tingjing. Windsor had sung 3 songs in this afternoon's performance. Every time she finished singing, Xiao Tingjing would be especially excited, but when it was someone else's turn, he would regain his composure. The few singers in this afternoon's performance were all seniors of the music industry, and they all had their own styles. Besides these few, Fang Zhao also noticed another person. He was not performing on stage, but was seated at the edge of the first row of the audience. If not for the fact that every singer would slightly bow in that direction after their performance, it would have been very difficult for others to notice him. Imo Lang, a master composer and arranger, was an old veteran who was over 150 years old. In the music circles, he was also known as the Divine Hand Imo Lang. He was a genius from the same generation as Xuejing and had even won the Galaxy World Medal, which Xuejing had yet to receive. His artistic achievements and contributions were incomparable to many people. He was truly at the top of the music industry. At the same time, Imo Lang was also the chief judge of the production team's music team, and his words carried a lot of weight. Imo Lang was not as amiable and approachable as Xuejing. He looked more serious and reserved. In the eyes of an old man, there was only art. When the old man looked at people, his mind was probably filled with musical notes. When the afternoon performance ended, the people in the venue gradually left. Venerable Imo did not stay either. As he walked toward the exit, everyone automatically made way for him. The old man was getting on in years, and bumping into each other was not good. Furthermore, because of Venerable Mo's extraordinary status, the actors who frequented the venue recognized him and were all respectful. In the entire cast and crew, there were not many people over 100 years old. Those over 150 years old could be counted on one hand. Fortunately, Venerable Mo's body was considered healthy. He ate and lived in the music center and did not need to worry about anything else. All he had to do was compose in peace. This was a special benefit for him. As Fang Zhao walked toward the exit, actors from other continents greeted him. In Season 7, the characters in several chapters had gradually started to cross over. Sometimes, characters from other continents would appear in the Yinzhou chapter, and in the Yinzhou chapter, characters from other continents would appear. Later on, there would be scenes where the leaders of various continents would gather. Fang Zhao acknowledged Imo Lang's arrival. He and Xiao Tingjing retreated to the side and let Imo Lang go first. That's Grandmaster Imo Lang. You should know him. From time to time, old Mr. would go to various concert halls to listen to performances, but he rarely smiled. Recently, it's even more rare to see old Mr. smile at anyone. I've seen him 3 times, and all 3 times, he was frowning. He doesn't like to talk to people, so I don't know what he's thinking. I've only heard people say that old Mr. seems to be holding back a big move. After listening to this performance, Xiao Tingjing became more lively and talkative. Fang Zhao knew what Xiao Tingjing was talking about. He had heard that Venerable Imo had accepted an important assignment and was composing a piece that would last over 10 minutes. It was also the closing theme for the series' founding era. It was not difficult to compose a piece of music that lasted more than 10 minutes. However, it was not easy to create a stunning piece of music. Otherwise, it would be easy for people to get tired halfway through, making it seem lengthy. It was no wonder that the crew let Imo Lang, a musical genius, take on this task. Judging from Venerable Mo's expression, he was probably thinking about that work. In a short span of 10 days, I've shown my face in front of him 3 times, but believe it or not, if I stand in front of him again, he still won't remember me. In front of Venerable Imo, Xiao Tingjing's villainous face was useless. Fang Zhao nodded. I've heard that the old man doesn't have eyes for people, only musical notes. The two of them chatted in low voices, intending to wait for Imo Lang to pass by before leaving. Unexpectedly, when Imo Lang passed by them, he suddenly stopped. Imo Lang looked at them and scanned them from top to bottom. Puzzled, he asked Fang Zhao, "Who are you?" "Nice to meet you, Venerable Imo. I'm Fang Zhao, a graduate of the Yinzhou Music Academy. This time, I was invited to join the music team of the cast," Fang Zhao said. Imo Lang's eyebrows rose. The little fella who composed the 4 movements of the 100-Year Period of Destruction series? Little fella. Fang Zhao paused and nodded. That's me. I remember you. I even listened to the 100-Year Period of Destruction series yesterday and read up on your information. It's just that I've never seen you here before. Beside him, Xiao Tingjing looked at Imo Lang and then at Fang Zhao in astonishment. He knew that Fang Zhao was doing better in the music circles than the showbiz circles, but he had never expected that even Venerable Imo, who didn't care about worldly affairs and didn't remember people, would actually know about Fang Zhao. He had never heard that Venerable Imo was binge-watching dramas. Xiao Tingjing didn't know much about Yinzhou's music circles and didn't know much about the 100-Year Period of Destruction series that Venerable Imo had mentioned. He vaguely remembered that he had heard of it before. Imo Lang didn't continue asking why Fang Zhao rarely came to the music center. Instead, he asked, "The 4 movements of the 100-Year Period of Destruction series aren't bad. Very mature techniques. Are there any new works this time around?" "Yes, I'm preparing to submit an episode in Season 9, Fang Zhao replied. Imo Lang frowned. Only 1 episode? But when he thought about Fang Zhao's age and qualifications, Imo Lang's frown eased up. "When the composition is completed, submit it directly to me. Mo Lang's gaze swept to Qiao Tingjing, who was standing beside Fang Zhao, and he asked, "And who are you?" "Venerable Mo, my name is Qiao Tingjing. My wife is Windsor," Qiao Tingjing said respectfully. "Mimachim," Mo Lang nodded his head solemnly and left. Qiao Tingjing's heart was in tears. It wasn't easy for Venerable Mo to remember him because of his wife and a perfunctory Mmhm. Mo Lang didn't speak to anyone else and didn't even spare them a glance. He left and once again immersed himself in his own world. Everyone was already used to this. At Mo Lang's level, he didn't really care about anything else. However, many people in the hall looked at Fang Zhao strangely. "Fang Zhao, what's your relationship with Venerable Mo?" someone asked. "It's no big deal. It's also my first time speaking to him," Fang Zhao replied. However, many people didn't believe Fang Zhao's words. Who was he trying to bluff? If there was no big deal, why would Mo Lang ask Fang Zhao to submit his work directly to him? Some people secretly decided to tell their friends and relatives in the music industry about this and see if they could get some information. After all, it was too difficult to make Mo Lang remember someone. Without sufficient artistic achievements, there was simply no way to leave a deep impression on Mo Lang. After leaving the music hall, Fang Zhao and Qiao Tingjing parted ways. He went to visit a few seniors while Qiao Tingjing went to look for his wife. By the time Fang Zhao left the music center, it was already evening. He had dinner in the music center's canteen before returning to work on his unfinished work. After that, Fang Zhao spent most of his free time outside of filming composing. Actually, Fang Zhao didn't know why Mo Lang had asked him to submit his work to him the first time they met. According to normal procedures, there would have been a first and a second trial before the work would appear on Mo Lang's desk. But hearing Mo Lang mention the 4 movements of the 100-year period of destruction series, Fang Zhao guessed that Mo Lang had given him the go-ahead because of this. Maybe he thought highly of Fang Zhao's composing ability, or maybe he wanted to seek inspiration from Fang Zhao's work. However, these were all secondary. Mo Lang wouldn't accommodate his work just because they had a good relationship. Furthermore, Fang Zhao was someone he had no relations with. He had only asked Fang Zhao to submit his work directly. He had never said he would choose Fang Zhao's work. What Fang Zhao needed to do now was compose. Days passed. Season 5 finished airing and Season 6 began airing. In the series, the darkness had not passed. Instead, it became darker because of the conflicts between people, and the list of casualties increased. During the closing credits, audiences habitually looked at the rolling credits, the names of the casualties, and the grave numbers. After that, they would pay attention to the singer and composer of the closing credits. A distant voice, a stunning yet beautiful rock and roll electronic music, the combination was flawless. An epic symphonic bass, a powerful harmony team, and skillful singing. The climax was like a heavenly bel canto, bringing about a strong emotional impact. A certain film forum in Yenzhou. "This voice is a little familiar. I don't need to look at the credits. I know it's Windsor the moment I hear her voice. If I had this voice, why would I go to school? Why would I take exams? Why would I do homework?" Students these days might not understand Windsor that well. Let me enlighten you all. The discussion topic on the forum shifted from Season 6 plot to the gossip between Qiao Tingjing, who played the antagonist Zongqian, and the goddess of singing, Windsor. I just went to Qiao Tingjing's social platform to take a look. Indeed, 8 of the 9 photos are of Windsor. The remaining one is a group photo. Qiao Tingjing? Ha ha ha, that wife-flaunting demon is showing off again. Windsor was the one who sang the closing credits for Season 6. He will surely show off again. Based on the course of history, Zongqian will be trampled by Fang Zhao in Season 6 and bid farewell to the stage of history. As for the cast and crew, Qiao Tingjing's scenes must have been shot long ago. That fellow has been very active recently. Every time he has internet access, he posts several statuses. What? Wait a minute. Zongqian was trampled by Fang Zhao? He's collecting a bento box this season? How is that possible? Such an awesome character. I quite like this character, a certain Zongqian admirer said. One look, and you can tell that the person above is not from our Yenzhou. Zongqian has that ability. If Zongqian was given another 5 years, no, 3 years would have been enough. When the time comes, Who knows who will be trampled on by Fang Zhao? A Zhongqian admirer argued. That's why old Fang trampled on him in advance. He didn't give him the chance to continue developing. This was a die-hard Fang Zhao fan. Objectively speaking, if Zhongqian had trampled on Fang Zhao back then, he might have really become the savior of Yinzhou. At that time, Wu Yin still didn't have the ability to resist him. If he had one, he could have conquered the whole of Yinzhou. However, Yinzhou would no longer be called Yinzhou. It would be called Qianzhou. The style of the whole continent would have changed. It would have been colder, more merciless, more provocative, and more sacrificial. Two unyielding, bloody, and harsh methods. Survivors would have either become slaves, a cold, merciless knife in his hands, or they could only stand up and resist. Sigh. History is really complicated. Xiao Tingjing just posted another status. He actually said that Zhongqian is the savior. A group of people who were in the middle of an intense debate immediately rushed over to take a look. Actor Xiao Tingjing, Zhongqian, a savior who took the wrong path. The accompanying picture was a still life. In the distance was Zhongqian's back. Behind Zhongqian, on one side were the corpses of all sorts of beasts, and on the other side were countless human corpses. Anyone who had read the founding-era Yinzhou chapter knew that in Zhongqian's eyes, people who went against his will were the same as those beasts and would be killed without mercy. There's such a thing? Zhongqian is an extremely callous lunatic. Savior? Zhongqian? That's far from it. Actually, it's not far. It's just the distance of one Fang Zhao. So the question comes back. If not for Fang Zhao, could Zhongqian really have become Yinzhou's overlord? No, it should be Qianzhou's overlord. It's still impossible. The 10 rulers of the other continents would not allow such a dangerous person like Zhongqian to exist. Why is it impossible? Isn't Shizhou's great general Liu Shi famous for his cold and unyielding methods? Who knows, he might even be able to appreciate Zhongqian's talents and join forces to deal with others. Ha ha ha. Learn history before we discuss historical issues. Go and find out who Big Boss Shizhou had the best relationship with among the leaders of the various continents. Cough, let me interrupt. I'm from Shizhou, a history major. Those of us who study the period of destruction know that Big Boss Liu Shi and Yinzhou's Fang Zhao had a secret. Thus, the direction of the forum changed, and people started discussing the unspeakable secret between Big Boss Shizhou and Old Fang of Yinzhou. On the other side, Xiao Tingjing's social platform was also in the midst of a battle. Many people were dissatisfied with Xiao Tingjing's use of the word savior. They felt that Xiao Tingjing was making an enemy out of the people of Yinzhou. Don't tell me he's addicted to acting as a villain and has started to go against society and humanity? I knew it. One look and I knew this person wasn't a good person. If Zhongqian is a savior, then what is Fang Zhao? And what kind of status does he place Wu Yin in? Everyone, stop talking. Xiao Tingjing has not been a Yinzhou citizen for a long time. Teacher Qiao, have you asked Fang Zhao about this? Far away at Planet Wise Music Hall, Xiao Tingjing received an emergency call from his agent. Brother Qiao, have you seen the direction of the discussion online? His agent asked. I have, but those words aren't wrong. If Zhongqian hadn't walked the right path, he would surely have done something even greater. Furthermore, Zhongqian was the one who conquered more than 10 cities in western Yinzhou. If not for Zhongqian, during the early stages of the period of destruction, at least 60% of the survivors of the 10 cities in western Yinzhou would have been lost. There is historical evidence for all this. Since we have to face history squarely, Zhongqian is definitely at fault, but we can't ignore his contributions. Also, those words were said by Fang Zhao. Don't get agitated. Calm down. I didn't say what you said was wrong. I only said that the timing of your posting was not right, and it just so happened that your old rivals hired people to mess with you. This matter can be easily resolved. You don't have to worry. I just wanted to remind you that you haven't completely left your role. Every time you update your status online, you have to calm down. Weren't you quite smart in the past? That bunch of entertainment media outlets are looking for trouble. All right, I didn't think this matter through thoroughly. I will post another explanation. After the call ended, Xiao Tingjing prepared to defend himself. He typed, "I asked," and those words were said by Fang Zhao. After typing, he hit send. Send failed. He looked at the time again. 2 hours had passed, and the entire region was once again disconnected. Xiao Tingjing. Fortunately, he had already explained things to his agent. His agent would definitely be able to settle things. Xiao Tingjing relaxed. He tossed his communications device aside and went to accompany his wife for dinner. Things were indeed as Xiao Tingjing had thought. His agent realized that the cast and crew were disconnected, so he logged into Xiao Tingjing's account, edited a similar message, and posted it, telling everyone that those words were said by Fang Zhao. He also got people to find some historical evidence to prove that Zongqian had indeed saved many people in the past, but his contributions had been overshadowed by even more mistakes. Battlefields were everywhere. There were too many right and wrong in the entertainment industry, and many people loved to stir up trouble. Those in this line of work were already used to it. Furthermore, if this matter was handled well, it would actually be beneficial to Xiao Tingjing. As long as he laid out historical evidence and guided the thinking of the masses, it would be fine. He could also use this matter to leave a deeper impression on everyone and launch a small counterattack. Xiao Tingjing's agent rubbed his palms together and led the studio's staff to strike back at those who were secretly scheming against him. However, very quickly, a new problem arose. Did Fang Zhao really say those words? A netizen asked. Why am I getting more and more confused after reading all this? Which Fang Zhao are you talking about? Which Fang Zhao is Xiao Tingjing talking about? Which Fang Zhao did these words come from? Right, which Fang Zhao? I was just about to ask. Is it the one in the series or the one outside? Which Fang Zhao? Xiao Tingjing's agent had a blank look on his face. How would I know which Fang Zhao said those words? The entire Y cast and crew had been disconnected, so there was no way to ask. However, if he went to Venerable Mo's side, according to Venerable Mo's personality, he would either decide to stay or reject directly. There was no room for buffer. It would be a lie to say that he didn't feel any pressure, but he wasn't as worried as the others. Fang Zhao decided that if this piece of work was rejected by Mo Lang, he would reveal it during his next solo performance. Now, he just needed to do his best to complete this work. However, in the eyes of others, Fang Zhao's a little pressure meant that he was under a lot of pressure. Director Bai was worried, but this kind of thing was too common in the crew. It would be strange if they didn't feel pressured. He patted Fang Zhao on the shoulder and let out a long sigh. It hasn't been easy for you either. It wasn't easy for a young actor to shoulder such a heavy burden. Fortunately, Fang Zhao played his role very well. The netizens praised him more than criticized him. With the start of Season 9 getting closer and closer, Fang Zhao was definitely under a lot of pressure. All the actors in the crew were the same. The closer they got to the point of death, the more restless they became. Director Bai knew that Fang Zhao often went to the concert hall, so he didn't think too much about it. He just thought that Fang Zhao went to listen to performances to adjust his mood. The director team was busy filming every day and simply had no time to pay attention to other things. Naturally, they didn't know that Fang Zhao spent most of his time composing. Nighttime. Fang Zhao was in his dormitory, finishing up the final touches. In the quiet room, the nib of the pen scratched against the paper. When he finished writing the last note, endless exhaustion seemed to seep out from his bones. Tired. Extremely tired. Much more tiring than continuous high-intensity filming. Fang Zhao stared at the paper notebook in his hands in a daze. After a while, he smiled. This is it. If he took it out, he would definitely be questioned. Logically speaking, a person in his 20s couldn't possibly compose such a piece. But when he started writing, Fang Zhao had already mentally prepared himself. He turned off the room's air circulation system, walked over to the window, opened it, closed his eyes, and took a deep breath of the cold, dry, dusty air. The smell of dust filled his nostrils and rushed into his lungs. The terrible climate of the filming location, regardless of whether it was day or night, should have made people feel uncomfortable, but at this moment, Fang Zhao felt incomparably comfortable. His exhaustion was blown away. Relaxed. It was as if a heavy burden had been lifted. After enjoying the cold, dusty air for a while, Fang Zhao closed the window and returned to his desk. He took out a special piece of music sheet and a special pen from a drawer and wrote the completed score on it. The music sheet, pen, and a special folder for submissions were equipment used by the music team for submissions. They were impervious to normal fire and water. There was no electronic version, only a manuscript. After he finished writing, he placed the manuscript into the folder and sealed it with a special seal. The seal was a combination lock. Once it was sealed, only a qualified reviewer from the music center could open it. The time of opening and the person opening it would be recorded. The next day, Fang Zhao didn't have any filming assignments. He went out for a run in the morning, then returned to wash up and change into a fresh set of clothes. He placed the folder in his backpack and took the bus to the music center. Some musicians on the bus were surprised to see Fang Zhao. Usually, they didn't see Fang Zhao at this time in the morning. In the past, Fang Zhao was always on the bus heading to the filming location. There were also people who asked about Fang Zhao and Mo Lang. The news of Mo Lang stopping Fang Zhao at the music center and asking him to submit his work had already spread among the music team. Many people didn't think too much about it. Although there weren't many people with this kind of privilege, there were at least 20 or so. Fang Zhao wasn't the only one, so most people just treated it as entertainment. They felt that Mo Lang probably thought highly of Fang Zhao as a junior, or that he already knew Fang Zhao. No one dared ask Mo Lang. As for Fang Zhao, they couldn't get anything out of him. Today, seeing Fang Zhao actually come to the music center so early in the morning, everyone's curiosity was piqued again. A few people couldn't contain their curiosity. When they arrived at the music center, they thought they were stealthy and followed Fang Zhao to take a look. Then, they sent live updates to other acquaintances. Fang Zhao's route seems like he's going to look for Venerable Mo. He really went there. He's headed that way. He took out a folder from his bag. It's a folder used for submissions, the kind that's already sealed. He really came to submit his work. Soon, more and more people at the music center found out that Fang Zhao had gone to Mo Lang to submit his work. To be able to leave an impression on Venerable Mo and have the privilege of submitting directly, he must be very talented. I really want to take a look at the manuscript he submitted. I've heard Fang Zhao's work. It's very infectious. The few songs from the period of destruction have a strong story. I remember now. Fang Zhao, right? That genius who sold all the copyrights to his works at a high price before the concert even ended. I think he's only in his 20s? Especially young fella. There was a time when I often used him to strike a few of my unambitious students. Are all newcomers so strong now? This senior of mine is under a lot of pressure. Fang Zhao didn't know what these people were secretly discussing, but he knew that someone was following him. They didn't have any ill intentions. They were just curious if he was going to Venerable Mo's place. He didn't feel like there was a need to hide this. He just pretended he didn't know there were people following him. Mo Lang was an old artist with a high status. His meals and lodging were all at the music center. His place of residence was also where he worked. Fang Zhao didn't meet Mo Lang directly. The person in charge was one of Mo Lang's assistants. Mo Lang was a treasure artist. He had bodyguards, assistants, and medical staff. Other artists were allowed one assistant at most, but Mo Lang had brought 4. This was the privilege that someone of Mo Lang's status could enjoy. The assistant who received Fang Zhao was in charge of submitting his work. The assistant took the folder Fang Zhao handed over. After checking the seal, he smiled politely. You can go back first. I will pass the manuscript to Venerable Mo. As he spoke, the assistant pointed to the side. There are surveillance cameras. I won't leak your manuscript or illegally take over your work. Thank you. Then I won't disturb you any further. Fang Zhao didn't stay any longer. He left after submitting his work. However, he didn't leave the music center. Instead, he went to see the recording studio of his seniors. The top 5 orchestras in the world were all here. Many of the symphonic pieces in the series were composed by them. Just because you composed a piece didn't mean that you could immediately ask them to record it. Impossible. Resources were limited. If you didn't reach that level and didn't receive enough recognition, you didn't even have the right to apply for a recording. You simply couldn't invite them. Big orchestras also had their own pride. The music center actually had its own set of rules. Competition was everywhere. Strength spoke loudest. If a composer's manuscript didn't pass the first review, they had to be more self-aware and stay where they were. This bunch of orchestras wouldn't pay attention to them. After passing the second review, the composer would at least have the confidence to speak up. No matter what, they would have passed the first round, right? Applying for a better recording studio or rehearsal hall would also have a better chance than those who didn't pass the first review. When the judging panel approved your manuscript, you would be able to straighten your back. You wouldn't even need to apply for it. All the resources you needed would naturally be allocated to you. Fang Zhao, like the others who had the same goal, quietly sat in the seat that had been arranged for bystanders. High-grade digital audio systems gave people a very good impression of the scene, but that kind of effect wasn't really live. Only the human ear was truly holographic. Even if the most advanced digital audio systems could produce a live impression that could fool the average person, people in this industry all had very sensitive ears and could still distinguish the difference. Now that he heard that Fang Zhao had finally submitted his work, Mo Lang set aside his tea, took the folder, opened it, and took out the manuscript inside. People at their level didn't need any supplementary equipment. Just by looking at the music score and the manuscript, they could roughly form the main body of the work in their heads. Before even reading 2 lines, Mo Lang's eyebrows furrowed. His other hand, which was resting on his thigh, was slightly raised and waved, as if he was conducting an orchestra, just to a lesser extent. The 4 assistants saw Mo Lang's eyebrows furrowed and thought that Mo Lang didn't like Fang Zhao's work, but looking at it again, it didn't seem like he was dissatisfied. If he was really dissatisfied, Mo Lang could just toss the manuscript aside and not look at it. Based on their experience of following Mo Lang for so long, Mo Lang should be rather engrossed. So was he satisfied or dissatisfied? The 4 assistants moved softly to avoid making noise that would disturb venerable Mo Lang sat there and finished reading the manuscript page by page. Then he went through it once more, and once more. After repeating this 5 times, not only did his eyebrows not relax, they actually furrowed even more. Shifting his attention away from the manuscript, Mo Lang looked at the composer's name written on the manuscript and asked in disbelief, "Did Fang Zhao bring it over himself? Did anyone come with him?" "No, it's just him," the assistant in charge of reception replied. Mo Lang took a deep breath. It was as if he was asking someone else, but also as if he was asking himself, did he really write this himself? Mo Lang thought back. Fang Zhao's face was already very blurry in his mind, but there was one thing he was sure of: Fang Zhao really wasn't that old. Chapter 324. Mo Lang did not dare believe it, but he did not want to think badly of Fang Zhao. Fang Zhao's 100-year period of destruction had been pretty good. What is Fang Zhao's background? Does he have any special experiences? Mo Lang asked one of the assistants. The assistant was in charge of helping Mo Lang organize all sorts of information. Hearing Mo Lang's question, the assistant immediately replied, "Fang Zhao is young, but he has more special experiences than others." Oh? This time, Mo Lang was really curious. He usually did not pay attention to matters outside of the arts. Previously, when he had investigated Fang Zhao, he had only investigated composing. He had not paid attention to anything else. But now, there were too many suspicious points about Fang Zhao. The assistant had previously helped Mo Lang sort out Fang Zhao's information, so he was able to answer quickly. From Fang Zhao's graduation to his debut with the 100-Year Period of Destruction series, to his sudden fame in the game, to his military service, and so on, the assistant briefly recounted to Mo Lang all the important events that had happened. Mo Lang's expression was one of astonishment, regret, and dissatisfaction. He even went into acting? Yes, according to the information we found, He was the historical consultant for the founding-era Yenzhou chapter and was also invited by the music team. Later on, he even fought for the role of Fang Zhao and had a lot of scenes. Even now, he frequently films on set. No wonder he only submitted one draft. Mo Lang did not approve of composers acting in movies and TV series. Wasn't it better to put more effort into composing? However, Fang Zhao was pardonable. Even if Mo Lang was not an actor and did not follow TV series, he knew how difficult it was. But Fang Zhao had beaten other skilled veteran actors and won the role. Until now, the actor had not been replaced, which showed that there were no problems with his acting skills. So, Mo Lang looked at the manuscript in his hand and muttered softly, if this kid was too immersed in his character, he might have been able to produce such a work. If that was the case, it is really astonishing talent. Hearing Fang Zhao's experiences, Mo Lang somewhat believed that Fang Zhao had composed this work on his own. Thinking of something, Mo Lang suddenly got up and returned to the workshop. He opened the script file and flipped to the timeline of Fang Zhao's manuscript. Yenzhou Chapter, Season 9. Ah, here. Why did you submit it here? The song was not intense or sorrowful. It was different from other people's styles, but it had an additional. Mo Lang's lips trembled a few times before he suddenly slammed the table in excitement. Yes, that's it. The four assistants standing outside felt their hearts tremble. They really wanted to say, take it easy. Calm down. Don't get too excited. After all, he was old and tired. The four assistants were especially worried about Grandpa Mo's physical condition. Once he was immersed in his work, he would not care about anything else. Especially after his retirement, it was common for him to forget to eat and sleep, and he had even fainted from hunger many times in order to compose. Now that he was here, the four assistants were taking turns to guard him, afraid that he would lose consciousness if they were not careful. Mo Lang was still inside, muttering something to himself in a low voice. The four assistants couldn't hear him clearly, but they could see that Mo Lang was so excited that his hands were trembling, and his old face was glowing with the glory of enlightenment. Having been by Venerable Mo's side for so long, they could not remember the last time Venerable Mo had been this excited. But now, he was actually this excited because of a musical score that Fang Zhao had submitted. Mo Lang took a deep breath and told his assistant, inform Fang Zhao. Tell him to make a trip here. After saying that, Mo Lang flipped through his contact list and called Roman, the production team's executive director. Roman had been badly battered these past 2 days. As filming progressed, not only was the pressure on the actors increasing, but he himself was as busy as a spinning top. He wished he could split himself into two. The dark circles under his eyes had deepened, and his temper was even more irritable than before. His face was black all day long. At this moment, Roman was lecturing someone. A certain big-shot actor had secretly drunk a little yesterday and had an additional filming assignment at the last minute. His mental state could not keep up and he kept making mistakes. Roman just happened to catch him. He had hit the nail on the head. Just as he was about to flip out, Roman heard his personal phone ring. It was an internal phone on the set, and it was a call from someone he had no choice but to answer. Roman fished the phone out of his pocket and glanced at it. The angry expression on his face receded slightly, and he walked over to the pantry to answer the call. His tone became respectful. Venerable Mo? What? Are you asking about Fang Zhao? Roman had originally thought that Venerable Mo was calling to talk about a certain scene's accompaniment music. He had not expected that Venerable Mo would actually ask about Fang Zhao. That's right. That kid is still filming. Lately, his screen time has decreased a lot, but I heard that he's under a lot of pressure and is too immersed in his character. Sigh, you don't know, but actors in a production crew are all like that. At times like this, no one can relax, but his physical condition is still all right. He can eat 8 boxed meals a day and still go out for a run and hit sandbags. That's right, his screen time will end in Season 9. That's right, that's right. That kid is indeed a genius. Not your average genius. I was the one who discovered him. The rest of the cast and crew could only see Roman's movements and expressions through the glass window. They could not hear what he was saying, but quite a number of people could see that Roman's gradually smiling face. That's weird. It's rare for Roman to have such a pleasant expression today. He's smiling so happily. Who is he talking to? Someone whispered to the person beside him. The actor who had just been lectured heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally passed today's hurdle. Now that Roman was in a good mood, he would not continue lecturing others. In the pantry, Roman answered Imo Lang's question. Although Imo Lang did not say why he was asking about Fang Zhao, Roman could tell that Imo Lang thought very highly of Fang Zhao. Fang Zhao was under a lot of pressure now. He was so immersed in his character that he could eat 8 boxed meals a day. These were all rumors that Roman had heard from the cast and crew. As for whether it was true or not, Roman did not verify it. He simply did not have the time. Now that Imo Lang had asked, he just replied casually. Imo Lang did not ask too much. After a few more sentences, he hung up. Roman recalled Imo Lang's tone over the phone and could not help but chuckle. To be able to receive praise from a top-notch artist like Imo Lang, Fang Zhao was really capable. This pair of all-seeing eyes of mine, how did they grow up? They're really too amazing. Elsewhere, after Fang Zhao received a notification from Imo Lang's assistant, he quickly went upstairs. This time, he was not blocked outside and was directly brought in by the assistant. Venerable Imo, you were looking for me? Fang Zhao saw that Imo Lang was still holding his music score in his hand. He then observed Imo Lang's facial expression and had a guess. When Imo Lang heard this, his attention shifted away from the music score. He had just gone through the music score in his head again. Even though he had guessed that Fang Zhao had composed it because he was immersed in his character, to be able to compose such a piece was too difficult. This was already not something that could be described as an ordinary genius. Fang Zhao. Mo Lang raised his hand and waved the music score in his hand. His gaze suddenly became sharp as he asked, enunciating each word. Did you compose this yourself? Did you complete it independently? Yes, I completed it independently. Fang Zhao did not avoid Imo Lang's gaze. Very good. The way Imo Lang looked at Fang Zhao was as if he had seen a rare treasure. Come over here and take a seat. I have a few questions to ask you. From the creative concept to the technique used to the main emotional theme of the piece, Imo Lang asked about everything. The more he heard from Fang Zhao, the more Mo Lang believed that this was indeed Fang Zhao's own work. Whether it was an original work or not, he could still tell from these questions. And what made Imo Lang pleasantly surprised was that Fang Zhao's creative concept for this piece was, to a certain extent, identical to his concept for composing the ending background music. It was rare to meet someone with a similar concept. Imo Lang was very happy. Previously, when he had encountered a creative bottleneck, he had sought out a few old friends to discuss it. Unfortunately, everyone's ideas were different, and the more they discussed, the more vexed they became. This time, for the sake of that heavyweight 10-minute ending background music, Imo Lang had been so worried that his beard was about to be pulled clean. Today, he had received some inspiration from Fang Zhao's music score, and also gained much inspiration from his discussions with Fang Zhao. This sort of feeling of suddenly seeing the light was something that others could not understand. For Imo Lang, this sort of inspiration was priceless. And as a senior, Imo Lang felt that he had to express his gratitude. Submitting a manuscript was submitting a manuscript, and inspiration was inspiration. Fang Zhao had helped him, and he had to repay him. Imo Lang could not make an exception for official matters. This was a matter of principle, but in private matters, others could not interfere. After their discussion, Imo Lang pulled Fang Zhao out. The 4 assistants realized that Imo Lang's gloomy face, which had been gloomy for many days, was now beaming as if he had seen his own grandson. No, even when Venerable Imo saw his own grandson, he could not smile so warmly and warmly. The 4 assistants looked at Fang Zhao curiously. In their hearts, they wondered how Fang Zhao had managed to make Venerable Imo so happy. Imo Lang did not notice the expressions on the assistants' faces. He pulled Fang Zhao out and walked over to a cabinet. He told one of the assistants, "Open it. I remember there are still quite a few things from the last delivery." The assistant in charge of the storeroom was stunned for a moment before replying, "Oh, right, there are still a lot." As he spoke, He went to open the cabinet door. This cabinet was filled with specially made goods. Tea leaves, alcohol, and other foods with extremely high medicinal value were sent over by the government and a few major investors of the production team. This was the kind of treatment that an artist of Imo Lang's level could enjoy. In short, it was all specially provided. Imo Lang took out 3 boxes and stuffed them into Fang Zhao's hands. Fang Zhao did not take it. Just as he was about to say something, Imo Lang's face darkened. Take it. Fang Zhao could not refuse anymore. He reached out and took one of the boxes. Thank you, Venerable Imo. This box is enough. Just this box of biscuits? How could this be enough? Take them all. Take them all. I didn't eat much at my place. You're still growing. I heard that you can eat 8 boxed meals at a time, and you're still not full? Hey, you can't just eat that. You still have to compose when you're filming. Take this box of tea. It can clear away heat, digest food, and refresh your mind. Fang Zhao. When did I eat 8 boxed lunches? Who did you hear this from? Imo Lang took out a box from the cabinet and continued stuffing it into his mouth. Drink some of this wine, and you might find more inspiration. I usually drink it too. Fang Zhao hurriedly said, the cast and crew have rules. No alcohol is allowed during filming. It's okay. The alcohol content is low, and the amount is not much. It seems to be some kind of medicated wine. Anyway, drinking a little is good for the body. As he spoke, Imo Lang stuffed another box of food to replenish his energy. Eat. Take these back and eat them quickly. They're all for strengthening your body. There are no side effects. A person's energy is limited. You're still young, and your body is still growing. Eat more. The next time you come, make sure you're in good spirits. I've already asked your lead director. You don't have many scenes right now, but you're under a lot of pressure. Don't collapse from exhaustion. When you have time in the future, come over and we can discuss it. Imo Lang didn't want to discuss music with a listless person. The assistant in charge of the warehouse watched as the boxes were handed over one by one. His heart ached so much that his face twitched, but he couldn't stop Imo Lang. These things belonged to Imo Lang. He could give them to whoever he wanted. No one could say anything. When Fang Zhao came out, he was carrying bags of various sizes. The assistant in charge of receiving him had a smile on his face. This time, he was even more sincere. Don't worry and just accept these gifts from Venerable Imo. Venerable Imo doesn't accept gifts. If you really want to repay him, compose more. Venerable Imo is only interested in musical compositions. He doesn't care about material goods. Fang Zhao was actually deeply moved. Of course, he could see how precious these special offerings were. Imo Lang really only had art in his eyes. Now, he was giving away so many things because Imo Lang had gotten inspiration from the music scores he had submitted and from his conversation with Fang Zhao. In Imo Lang's opinion, the inspiration he had gotten from Fang Zhao was much more valuable than the things he had given away. Actually, when Fang Zhao had answered the questions about composing, he hadn't told the whole truth. Some things couldn't be said, so he had only picked out a portion that could be said. Coincidentally, it was this portion that was in line with Imo Lang's concept of composing the background music for the finale. At the same time, Fang Zhao had also gained some understanding of the 10-minute accompaniment from his conversation with Imo Lang. As he was thinking about the emotional direction of the 10-minute accompaniment, the elevator had already reached the first floor. Fang Zhao walked out, passed through the lobby, and headed for the main entrance. It was getting late, and the sky was already dark. He could still catch the last few buses back to his dormitory. As it was getting late, the lobby of the music center's first floor was empty. There wasn't anyone else around. As Fang Zhao headed for the main entrance, a group of people came out of the elevator on the other side. They were the orchestra members who had just finished rehearsing. Seeing Fang Zhao carrying bags of all sizes in his hands, the team that had been happily chatting suddenly fell silent. Pairs of eyes were like searchlights, staring at the items Fang Zhao was carrying, as if they had seen something unbelievable. Fang Zhao gave a slight nod and walked out of the music center's main entrance amidst the strange silence. After Fang Zhao left, the silent group broke out in discussion. That is a special offering, right? Look at the packaging. It's definitely a special offering, and it's the high-grade kind. Our old leader had it too. His teacher gave it to him. As far as I know, only people like Venerable Mo and the others can enjoy this kind of special offering. I heard that Fang Zhao went to submit to Venerable Mo today. The group fell silent again. That night, many members of the music team found out about this, and even more people were curious about the music draft Fang Zhao had submitted. What kind of work could it be to receive such treatment from Mo Lang? For the next few days, Fang Zhao had filming assignments. He had also submitted his music draft, and his focus once again shifted. From time to time, he would be called over by the director to discuss the script. During this period, Mo Lang had also called him over twice. The complexity of real history was much higher than that of movies and TV series, and there were many dark sides that could not be shown. The light was magnified, and the darkness was limited to a range that people could accept. Even for political stability and other reasons, when dealing with the scenes of the historical figure Fang Zhao, there were slight adjustments. No one could deny the merits of the historical figure Fang Zhao, but he did not last until the end. Furthermore, it was already more than 500 years into the new era. History was just a matter of the past. What was more important was the people who were still alive. If the character Fang Zhao was too prominent, if the embellishment was too strong at the end, the public's feelings for this person would be too deep, and the Wu family's situation would be very awkward. Today, at lunchtime, Fang Zhao was dragged by director Bai to eat with everyone. Now, everyone in the founding Arab cast and crew knew that this young actor, Fang Zhao, besides being especially good at fighting, could also eat. It was rumored that the greater the pressure on this fellow, the deeper he got into character, the more he ate. At the start, some people said that he ate 4 bento boxes for a meal, while others said that he ate 5. Later on, it was rumored that he ate 8 bento boxes for a meal, and the number of people spreading this rumor increased. 8 bento boxes. How much pressure did he have to be able to eat that? Quite a number of actors were envious. When they were under too much pressure and got into character, they simply had no appetite. It was no wonder that so many people liked to eat with Fang Zhao. With such a person beside them, they would also eat more. What was even more depressing was that even though Fang Zhao ate so much, his physique did not change much. It was rumored that he still persisted in running and hitting sandbags. People in the gym often saw a newly changed sandbag lying there like a corpse. After lunch, Fang Zhao was dragged by director Bai to discuss some minor details of the script. An old actor watched as Fang Zhao was called away and said to the people beside him, "Fang Zhao's physical fitness is simply like it's made of iron. If that Fang Zhao had this kind of body back then, would there still be any Wu family left in Yinzhou?" I used to think that Fang Zhao was very similar to the character he played, but now it seems that they are not the same. At least in terms of physical strength, they are different. Sigh, that person's body was too weak. He couldn't make it past the deadline. At the same time, director Bai called Fang Zhao to one side and confirmed a few issues that needed to be corrected in the script. Filming for Season 9 was getting closer and closer. After several revisions, the script had to be finalized as soon as possible. "How do you want to die?" Director Bai suddenly asked. Fang Zhao stared blankly for a moment before finding it funny. How many years had it been? It had been a long time since anyone had dared to say this in front of him. However, Fang Zhao also knew what director Bai meant. When the time came for a character to die in battle, how they died was written in the script, but the director would still ask for the actor's opinion. If the actor was in a good state, they might follow the actor's opinion and shoot according to the actor's wishes, allowing the actor to express himself. That might be better than acting according to the script, but it couldn't be too out of line. That was why director Bai had asked this. Die standing up? Die kneeling? Die lying down? Die lying down? Director Bai asked again. Die lying down, Fang Zhao replied. That's right. You can't shoot the whole face lying down. Die standing up and die kneeling down. People have already shot it. Fang Zhao. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.